We'll talk more about that in just a moment. As I mentioned, my name is Lindsay Smith. We also have Bill Mullins, our vice president, there in the back. Hi, Bill. We have Mark Dale, our treasurer. Mark's over there. Hi, Mark. We have Gabe Cohan, who is out, just came back, and Peter Brandt, and some other volunteers out there too. You can notice I'm wearing their shirts and their ID tags. Please feel free to talk with them and ask any questions that you have after the event or follow up with us afterwards. So Fire Safe Council, we have a partnership with the county Fire Safe Councils. We actually have Morgan and back there. Hi, Morgan. She's with the county, and we have a membership agreement with them, and they support the Fire Safe Councils all throughout the region. They host bi-monthly meetings for us where we can learn about what's going on throughout the county and engage with CAL FIRE and Bureau of Land and to connect us with resources and then bring those resources directly here into the community. We also work very closely with the San Marcos Fire Department. We have Lauren here tonight. Hi, Lauren, thank you. And it's just been a really great opportunity for us to get all these questions answered for everyone since the Cocos Fire. I feel like since we had that evacuation at the Cocos Fire, a lot of people always come to the HOA meetings wondering, what are we doing? How are we preparing? What are we going to do different next time? So I'm really excited about this Fire Safe Council and everything that we got to bring to the community to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with how to prepare going forward. Because we are a 501c3 and have our partnership with the county, that also opens us up to CAL FIRE grants. You typically have to be kind of in this little niche in order to be able to apply for those grants. So that's another opportunity that we have by starting this Fire Safe Council. And I wanted to thank our AV sponsors tonight. Because of them, we were able to hold this workshop. We are a brand new organization. We just had our first birthday, so we're still trying to get funding together to be able to hold these types of events. The cost of this room, for example, is funded by donations. The cost of this equipment, thank you, Anchor and Andy and Andrea and Bruce and Michelle and Anonymous. And so I really want to say thank you to those who allowed us to move forward with this. And then just in general, if you guys want to sign up for a monthly donation or give tonight, we have Venmo. You can just text SEHFSC to 44321. But we really are funded on your donations. When we hold our annual forum at Double Peak School, that room just to rent is $800. But that's where we have all sorts of vendors. We have our home hardening contractors like that you met out there. We have SDG&E and Valicitos and a full table from San Marcos Fire. It's a really great event that we do each year, but we can't do it without funding and support from all of you. So with that, I will turn it over to Rex, who is with the band management, and he's going to give our first presentation this evening.
Good evening. Is the audio okay? Yeah, awesome. My name is Rex Hambley. I'm a battalion chief with the newly formed United States Wildland Fire Service. They've combined the Department of Interior fire agencies into one wildland fire department. And Forest Service hasn't come yet, but allegedly they will. So anyways, the background of the course in 2017, I moved into this position with the Bureau of Land Management into prevention, mitigation, education, and investigation. And up to that point, I had basically got tired of seeing people die trying to escape fires. So I sat down with Brittany Munoz at the Greater San Diego Fire Safety Council, and we sketched out what would be, if we had 30 minutes on the soapbox to tell civilians, what would we want to tell them? And we started teaching it, and it kind of grew, and now we've got a whole bunch of different cadre that come, and they speak from their experience on what they think you should know if you're trying to escape wildfire. So this course is taught from the position, if you wake up in the middle of the night and there's fire outside your window and no one has told you what to do. So we can look at all the things leading up to that are like tonight, like coming out to train or clearing your gutters. But once the fire is outside your house, that stuff is in the past, and we're looking into the future. There's one story in here that's really hard to tell, and sometimes I get choked up, so I'll just throw that out there immediately. There's only one sad story. The rest are stories of triumph. Okay. Anyone heard the term hindsight bias? Or, yeah, a couple people in the back. Of course, the ringers back there. So that's looking backwards from today, and we know the outcome of an event that happened. Like, we know what happened in World War II. We know what happened in Afghanistan all the times. Anyway, so that's called hindsight bias. We do not want to apply it to these people, because when we're looking at the decisions that they made, they didn't have all the facts that we have today when you have a fresh plate of cantaloupe and a really good sandwich and everything, and fresh coffee. So we'll remember that, and then once we've acknowledged that, we can then go forward and say, this is what they could have done, or what you can do when you face this situation. Okay, this is the first story. This is a story of George and Lynn Powell. They lived in Sonoma County, and I got to go up there as a strike team leader when they had the Tubbs and the Nuns, and they had a whole bunch of different really bad fires up there. So this is a case study I put together forensically from news studies, from satellite imagery, and a couple of photos I took myself. This is Mark West Springs Parkway, which is a major thoroughfare that runs through Mark West Springs, which is a retirement community just outside of Sonoma. And this picture was taken in 2016, so before the fire came. What do you guys notice about the trees? I heard trees are touching. What else? Power lines, good, okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah, a lot of dead accumulated material. Okay, so keep those things in mind as we go through these case studies, because they're going to be recurring themes. Okay, here's a satellite view. This is a few months before, so this was June 2017. This is the same intersection that we were just looking at, and this is from Google Earth. These are mostly oak trees. What do you guys notice about the oak trees? What's that look like, a forest? Yeah, it's pretty dense. They're all touching. And how about the grass? What do you guys notice about the grass? It's dry and brown. Okay. So this is a photo, a representative fire behavior of the day. And what can you guys assume about the wind? Strong, yeah. And then we measure fire length in Thomas units. And Thomas is 6'2", about? Yeah, 6'2". So how many Thomases do you think this flame is? Because remember, one of these little things down here is a tree. So it's multiple Thomas units. It's like 10 Thomases. What would you say, Stephen Fillmore? Yeah, at least 10 Thomases. So we're looking at roughly 60-foot flame lengths here. So that's how long the flames are. Wind-driven fire. So the when we get Santa Ana winds in the fall and sometimes the winter, that's what is propelling these particular fires. Okay, here's the after. All of this is the same view of this. So this was June 2017, and this is October 2017. Same intersection that we were looking at, and each one of those is a house, and the reason why they're white is because it was complete combustion. So that house burned all the way down, and you put water on your campfire, and it leaves black logs. It had complete combustion. So all the white spots you're going to see are houses. This is where Lynn came to rest. They got the reverse 911 call had failed that night. So she awoke to the sheriff coming through her community with a siren saying that you need to evacuate now. There's a wildfire coming. So she made a plan with her husband. They left in separate cars. Lynn left first. And when she was scared, it was dark and smoky, she came around the corner and she missed the turn and she got stuck in the ditch right here. Her husband drove past her and he went down to Starbucks in just outside of Coffee Park and he waited for her. That's where Lynn's tale ended, right there. And so I only tell that story because that is that it shows the significance of why you should be training for this sort of thing, and that's what you're doing tonight. So here's an overview. They live down this direction here, but what do you guys notice about this big area right here? A wide open space. Yeah, this one's covered in knee-high dry grass, but as community members, you can start pressuring your agencies that maintain places like this to mow them. Okay, so when we start moving through your communities, think of all the places that are like this here that you have to go to if you weren't able to escape, or if it was too smoky or you had to pull over. So there's a few around here that are big open spaces. And that's the after right there. So all of those are houses that didn't make it. What's interesting, down here in the bottom, it's hard to see, there's one or two houses that, right here, this house didn't burn down. And we drove up to it, and there was this house right next to it had burned, but for some reason this house didn't burn, and they didn't have any ornamental vegetation right around the immediate area of their house. So they didn't have a bark of mulch or a wood pile. And I don't know, I didn't notice the vents at the time, but they may have had vents that had been retrofitted. And so it tells us a little bit about the conditions that were also there at the time of the fire. Okay, just one quick thing on theory. Who's seen, not Stephen Fillmore? Has anyone seen the time wedge before? No? Okay, awesome. So this is a theoretical concept, and today we have a lot of time to make decisions, to train, to get our cars ready, and at some point in the future, there'll be something that happens, and we don't know when that is, but that's called the bang moment. So all the things that we can do, we do on the fat side of the time wedge. That's like training, working out, maintaining your car, coming to class, making a plan with your family. And then as we get closer to time, maybe in August or September or whenever, we get closer to this moment that we don't know when it's going to happen. Does that make sense? And our options to prepare become less and less until you get the alert that says there's a fire over on Twin Peaks Road. Now you're almost at this point, and it's almost too late to prepare. Okay? It's just a theoretical concept. So where do you think Lynn and George were on the time wedge? It's 2 a.m., the sheriff comes through and says, evacuate now, and it's smoky and dark. Where do you guys think they were? Do you think they were here? Here? Now, what about Thomas and Mike when they come into a fire? They get ordered to come to a fire to put out the fire. Where do you think those guys are in the time wedge? They're just showing up to the fire to fight fire. It's different for everybody. So everybody's perception is different because the disaster could be right where we start on the big side of the time wedge. So it looks different for every single person. All right, this is a cool story. This is the story of Irene Lopez and Mario Monti, her caretaker. Same fire in Sonoma. They were in Coffee Park. Irene was, I think, 97 years old. She lived in a group care home. And as the fire grew and grew, the other residents, their family members, came to pick them up and take them away from harm. But nobody came for Irene. And her caretaker, Mario, said, well, I can't just leave her here. And Mario is ready to go. So they loaded up. I can't remember why they didn't take the car. The car may have become a light. But they wheeled around in the wheelchair for 12 hours in Coffee Park as the community burned down. So this is the before picture here. And I think her house was up here somewhere. And this is the after. So all of those white patches are houses that burned to the ground right there. So my question to you guys is, what do you think they did to survive Coffee Park in a wheelchair with a 97-year-old woman? Okay, I heard. Yeah, they got moving. Great. So they maintained their mobility, and they made a maneuver, and they maneuvered all around Coffee Park, and they would find little pockets of air where they could hang out for 5 or 10 minutes until another house caught fire. and then they would move, and they made their way to Coffee Park. And the fire department found them in the morning, and they had hypothermia, and they were treated for smoke inhalation, but both of them were just fine. So that is a really cool story of triumph. And the principle here is their ability to react and to move through the fire environment as it happened. So they found a spot that was good, and it became no good, so they moved to a new spot. Okay, this is a neat story. So we actually, was it you, Morgan, or was it with Brittany? Brittany, so I saw this video on the news, and I tracked her down via social media, and we did a phone interview with her. I saw the video, and I thought, wow, this lady did something really cool. And I wondered how she knew what to do. And so I said, oh, were you a firefighter? She said, no, I wasn't a firefighter. And I said, how'd you know what to do? And she said, I watched a lot of Cops, the TV show. And I'm like, oh, how does that work out? She said, the cops always use their vehicles as a kinetic weapon. So they're always ramming people, and they're using the vehicle as a tool. And so this is exactly what Allie did here. The other thing to note is she saw smoke. There were road signs that said fire ahead, and so she assumed that the authorities knew about the fire, and they did. The fire was just growing. It was completely outpacing what the fire organization could adapt to. And this is on Interstate 15 going south. They're in St. George, and they're going back to Las Vegas, Henderson, where they lived. Okay, so this is taken from the passenger side of the car.
Just stay. Just stay. Just stay. Stop moving. Just stay. This car's gonna hit me. Just stay. Don't leave your vehicles, you idiots. It's okay. Okay, go. Go, 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 go. Go straight, go straight, go straight, go straight, go straight, go straight. Can you get over if you can? Get over if you can. See, look, it's just brush. We're okay. We're okay. Just keep going straight. See, it's just brush. It's just small flames. Oh my gosh.
Okay, what did you guys notice about that from the beginning? Okay, she stayed calm. Anything else? How about the fire behavior? Let's go back.
Just stay. Just stay. Just stay. Stop moving. Just
So
stay.
decent flames that could
Just stay.
kill you or hurt you.
Don't leave your vehicles, you idiots.
So she waits.
Okay. Okay, go. Go, 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 go.
And then
go,
once
go.
there's
Go
an
straight,
opening,
go straight, go straight, go straight, go straight, go
she
straight.
goes. Now look at the fire on the other side. It's small and it's
Get
burned
over
out.
if you can. Get over if you can. See, look, it's just brush. We're okay. We're okay. Just keep going straight. See, it's just brush. It's just small flames. Oh my gosh.
You guys think you could do that if you were going in the roadway and there was fire across the road and you waited for a minute till it got better and then went on to the other side? Yeah, you guys don't look very convinced. Okay, I think you could. All right. So that was a maneuver. She made a maneuver. She waited till there was an opportunity and there was a break in the flames, and then she went forward. You can also hear people screaming from outside of the vehicle. So at some point, people exited their vehicles and were running down Interstate 15. I don't know the rest of that story. They were fine. What's that? That's a great question. The most recent one was the Paradise Fire. Thomas was there. There's that video of the LA County dozer pushing cars out of the roadway because the cars got trapped. People left their cars and all the cars burned up, but the cars couldn't go because they were in a traffic jam. So if they would have stayed in their car eventually would have caught fire and they would have died. They had to make a decision at some point. Their chances were better getting out of the car. The vehicle can shield you for a while, but once the car gets on fire, then you're obviously going to have to leave the car. Did that answer the question? Yeah. Okay, so same fire, different vehicle. So I think Allie was up here somewhere, and we are looking southish, and here's the yellow line. So the person that took this picture is going the right way on the freeway. Does that make sense? So this is the yellow line, this is the white line here. So all these people have turned around, the road is blocked, and I don't know what's on the other side, but it's probably very much like the video that we saw. So a fire that has quickly burned out, and they would actually be able to continue on their way home. Case by case basis, but now we've got interstate that's choked up. And then the secondary or probably the biggest danger is getting rear-ended by someone who's doing 80 miles an hour and plowing into back use. So that's something to think about when you're parked on the roadway. Okay, same fire, different car, different perspective.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
okay. Everything's okay.
Everything's not okay.
Get on the back of that guy's car. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm actually really scared.
It's okay.
Oh, it's hot.
Yeah, this guy needs to get moved. We gotta get through here.
Oh, they left their car there. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that car's gone.
Oh, T. Oh, T.
It's alright. It's okay.
Okay, what did you guys notice in that one? Yeah, he did. I don't know if he was calm inside, but he also narrated the escape, and he provided calm to his partner that was in the vehicle. Anything else? What did you guys see the people were wearing that abandoned their car? Sandals and was that? Shorts, yeah. How long do you think they had between when the fire hit their car to when they got picked up? How many seconds? Not many, 60 seconds maybe? 30? You guys want to see it again one more time? Okay, so look at when we see the fire up here, try and guess how long it would take to burn through to get to their car. All right, that's the drill. Maybe. That's a great question. So I think they were going the other way, and the fire was they saw the fire on the side of the freeway, and they decided to cross the median. And this was around the same place where the first video was with the woman who drove past the flames. So we don't know why they drove through. All we know is that their car is stuck. That's something to think about. If you guys do decide to leave the roadway, you leave a known surface to go through the unknown. You're trading one thing for the other, and there's not a right or wrong answer. They made a choice, and we can see that it didn't really work out very good for the car, but they all got picked up. Oops.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
okay. Everything's okay.
Get on the back of that guy's car. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm actually really scared.
It's okay.
Oh, it's hot.
Yeah, this guy needs to get moved. We gotta get through here.
Oh, they
Right
left
there.
their car there. Oh my gosh.
That's probably
Oh,
about
that car's
20,
gone.
20 or 30 seconds, I think, about.
Oh, T.
It's alright. It's okay. It's alright.
Okay. Any last thoughts on that one? The reason why we're going through these is because I want to imprint them into your head on what you could do if this happens to you. And then next time there's a fire, you'll be like, oh, I remember that class I took a couple years ago. Okay, this is from the Palisades fire. Thomas, if you have anything you want to interject, please do, because you were there. Was anyone else at the Palisades in the room? No? Okay.
Is that on? Okay, come on, go inside. Got it? Ow. Burning, sorry. You okay?
No,
What happened?
my car won't start because it's a hybrid. I have my dogs in my car. Can you please help me get my dogs? They're in my garage.
Where are you?
Right there, just up the
How
street.
far up? Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I got you.
Right.
Is this your house that's on fire?
Right here.
Okay, let's go quick. Okay, come on, go inside.
Should I close it?
Whoa. Whoa.
Perfect. Go ahead and stay out there. Come report directly.
Where do we go?
They're leaning towards the... Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Ridge down at Hillside.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's
Is
the
that what you
sign
thought?
where
Yeah.
run-
Oh.
So they made it, all the dogs made it and everything.
I don't know how you...
What's interesting about that video is all of those fires that you saw were started by embers landing. So the main flame front hadn't come into the neighborhood yet. So they had lots of little individual fires that were landing in bark dust or piles of leaves. and starting to light things on fires, but they were able to move through that because they could maneuver around those things. And as the houses caught on fire, it built more and more energy, which started to pull the rest of the fire into it. Here's the before picture, and that pin right there is where that video was taken. How about the topography? Does anything look familiar to your community here? Brush-covered canyons? Okay. And here's a closer view. This is right where that pickup happened. And those are the dumpsters right there. What do you guys notice about the roadway here? Narrow. Are there any narrow roads in this community? Yeah, they seem really narrow for how much planning they had when they built the place. But yeah, so if one fire truck and one car, that completely blocks this road. How about the vegetation? What do you guys see for vegetation? Lots of it, yeah, a lot of ornamental vegetation. So all this, this stuff caught on fire. And there's the after picture. But it is pretty neat that they were able to maneuver through that and to make an escape. Thomas, you got some thoughts on that?
Just want to mention when we're talking about Palisades and Eaton and these large catastrophic wildfires, you have to think about them a little bit different than we do with your everyday fire. In San Diego County, we're running hundreds of fires a year. Most of them you never hear about. Some of them get pretty bad, but a lot of them are kind of start out in the wildland area and work their way over to the more populated areas. When you're looking at the WUI areas or the areas where it's moving from the vegetation into the populated areas and turns into that conflagration where it's house-to-house combustion, it's going to burn different. And it's important to note that massive devastation over a relatively short amount of time in LA, but it didn't all just get leveled at once. And that comes back, and it should come back into your planning process when you're really looking at the big picture of, hey, if we have a fire coming in to San Alejo, not everything's just going to be leveled at once, and you can still do those tactical maneuvers that Rex was talking about when it comes to trying to move around the community, because all of those houses are not just bursting into flames at the same time. It's that ember cast or that neighbor's house that's on fire that's becoming a blowtorch and spreading to the next house and to the next house. It is a huge problem, but this is a message of hope, because if you can protect your airway and tactfully maneuver around the area, you can stay alive. So we look at this stuff, and it's very sad, right? 30 people died in those two fires. Crazy sad. The average age of the folks who died was 75. And so a lot of these people, unfortunately, are dying because they don't have a way to get out of their house. So when it came time to make that tactical maneuver to leave their property, they weren't able to. So something to think about for yourself. You set yourself up for success. If you have options, obviously evacuate early is number one, right? Sometimes that fire is at your doorstep and you don't have a choice, and then you have to start moving around. But you do still have hope to make things happen for yourself and for your family by watching the fire environment and taking what you learned today and thinking, okay, that route shut off. What's my next maneuver? That route shut off. What's my next maneuver? Because not every fire is going to be the Palisades and the Eaton, but even if it is, you still have hope. There are still areas you can get to ride out that flame front.
Yeah, these are extreme cases, the black swan cases. Yes, sir.
A large bottleneck. And so as you guys are talking about, thinking about different escape routes, in this community, there's basically one escape route, which is down to Rancho Santa Fe, or trying your luck down through the brush in Elfin Forest. And so within our context, any thoughts on what to do when you're in a bottleneck? Unfortunately, we haven't had a fire that's crested the hill and come down into the community. But, once you find yourself in that bottleneck, what do you guys recommend in that scenario?
Man, that's a tough question. The easy answer is to leave before there was an evacuation warning, and Mike's going to talk about information platforms that you can look at. So even if on a windy day there's a fire in Valley Center or Escondido, you don't have to wait to leave. You can be like, you know what, this is crazy. I'm getting out of here. We're going to the beach. You already have your kit ready, and we've got some units that are going to cover some of that stuff. That's a really good question. I'm just going to do one or two more, and then we're going to. Oh, we got another question. Yeah.
So I was actually talking to one of the fire guys. I don't think it was anybody from here. They have a new evacuation app, and he said actually wait until we tell you to evacuate because we're going to do it street by street so that there's not a bottleneck. So we're going to only have the people that are directly affected leave first and then wait. So which one should we do? Wait.
You
until
can
they
leave
tell-
whenever you want.
Okay.
No one can tell you not to leave. They're trying to have an orderly evacuation, but I tell you what, if it was me and my kid and I saw a fire and if I was mobility impaired or if I knew I was going to have large animals that were going to take a long time, I'm going to go. But the intent is to have an orderly process.
You still have time to make a decision to go ahead, get ahead of it and leave. Not wait until the last minute when the orderly evacuation happens. That's when it's already at our door and they're evacuating us. So if you have the ability to get ahead of that, I think that's what
you got
we're
it.
talking about.
So I'm going to skip the Maui one, but I just want to put this photo up here. This is the Lahaina fire that happened a couple years ago, and what I think is really interesting, it's kind of hard to see, but there's an adolescent boy here who's got a surfer's tan. He's got no shoes and just board shorts. Another, perhaps a young lady, and then a man in a full suit holding his hat, and they're just staring at the fire here. And perhaps Stephen will be able to speak to this later because it's one of the areas that he knows a lot about. But there are some cultural differences as we move across different communities, even in the United States. People that are adapted to fire, people who have houses or ranches that are hardened and have been through several fires, and there's people that live up on Palomar Mountain that moved from the city, from maybe San Francisco, that have never been to a fire before. So we have a wide range of experience and cultures. But this is just a very fascinating photo to me from a social science standpoint. Can you guys see all the leaves right here? That's from the wind. So it was super windy, and the leaves kind of built up in the eddy. Oh, there's the better picture. Right there. Can you guys see it a little better now? Yeah. Isn't this interesting? They're just kind of staring at it. Not, I mean, if it was my kid, I'd hope he'd be going the other direction. Yeah, that's a tree that's completely torching out. And this fire had been going a while before it made it into the old town. I mean, hours, like 5 or 6 hours. So it is curious that these people were still there. I don't know, maybe they didn't have a place to go. Okay, we're going to skip this one here. Skip. This is a cool story, too. The Feather River Hospital during the Paradise Fire, they had critical care patients. The hospital caught on fire, and they said, we can't transport these patients. We've run out of time. That fire moved really fast, so they moved them out to the helipad after the main fire front had moved past. And you can see it's all burned here in the background. And they've got IV bags hung up, gurneys, wheelchairs, machines. And they treated their patients out there on the helipad. So that's pretty incredible. The fire blew past, hospital caught on fire. They moved everyone out to the helipad. And then they were able to put the hospital out, and they moved everyone back in. That's another example of how people with mobility impairment were able to survive the Paradise Fire. That story is pretty wild. And there they are moving stuff back in. Okay, we're going to skip this one. Oh, yeah, this will be the last one. So this is another 2017 Tubbs or Nuns fire, and these people gained local notoriety because they jumped in the pool. Are there any chemists or physicists in the room? Or anyone with any kind of background? No? Any pool people? No? A pool guy? Okay. So all the headlines say that they survived because they jumped in the pool. And while that is true, They did jump in the pool and they did survive. So those two things are true. It wasn't because the pool absorbed the heat from the fire, okay? It was because they didn't breathe hot air in their lungs and burn their lungs. And the real reason is probably they were just probably below the edge where the hot gases were coming up. So what do you guys notice about this vinyl wildlife net here, particularly right here? Yeah, part of it's melted, and then it's not melted over here too. So that tells us a little bit about the temperatures that were present at the time. So the Pascos were up in their house. They lived up here somewhere. Same thing, middle of the night. The reverse 911 system crashed immediately at the beginning of that fire, and I don't know why. They smelled smoke. They got in their car, and they realized that they weren't going to make it out. So they remembered that their neighbor had a pool. They jumped in the pool, and they lived. What do we call this terrain feature right here? Okay, the vegetation is forest. What do we call the shape of the mountain when it comes? Canyon. Okay, good. And what do fires like to do in the canyon? Yeah, the fires go faster when they get in the canyons. And the wind was coming from the northeast, so the wind lined up in the canyon, and the wind in the canyon and all the bushes made for a really intense fire. So they came from down here. They got in the pool here. That's the after. So both those houses, complete combustion, really intense fire that came through here. And I was really curious on the story, so I started kind of digging into this and found some more pictures. So this side of the net didn't take any damage from the fire. So there was almost no heat impact on this side of the net, while the parts that were exposed to fire just quickly vaporized into gas. So that tells us a little bit about what the conditions were like. And not to discredit their story, it was probably horrific, but it wasn't hot enough to melt the fence right there. So it wasn't the ability of the pool to absorb. They were just in a place where the flames and the hot gas didn't get to them. And they also look like outdoorsy people, don't they? Like they've had a lot of sun, they've been hiking around, camping a lot. And I do wonder if that aided to the psychology of their survival. If they were like, okay, well, we're getting the pool now. They got hypothermia. There is a little angel thing here, which is cool if you're spiritual. It doesn't have any charring on it. So there's no sooting or charring on that, which is something that we look at in fire investigation to see how the fire burned through. And that's one from another fire where somebody got in the pool and didn't make it. But this is a neat story. So the moral of the story, don't jump in the pool. But they had the little bit of protection from just being below the rim of this and probably the shape where this pool was cut out from the hillside. Okay, does that make sense? So if they had been laying here, they would have been toast. If they were laying here, they would have been fine. And they were here, and they were also fine. They got cold and wet. But that's going to be the end of the stories of survival. So I hope that those imprinted in your head. We've got a question right here.
You just mentioned with the Coffee Park one that they got hypothermia also. I'm just curious how everyone's so cold.
Okay, good question. So when we get the Santa Ana winds in the fall, it's really during the day. It's like 75 degrees. It's November or it's Thanksgiving, and you've had a public safety power shut off. And then nighttime comes around, and your heater doesn't work, and it gets down to like 50 degrees. And if you've been running and sweating and you're scared, spending 50 degrees overnight outside is cold. For us here in Southern California, it's not cold for people in Alaska, but so that's why they're getting hypothermia. Did that answer the question? Awesome. Okay, thanks. Next up, we're going to have Stephen Fillmore. I'll let him introduce himself and give me a second, and I'll load up his unit. Are you doing the hand mic or the lapel mic? Okay. All right. Stephen was averse to the hand mic, but it'll be okay.
While we wait for Stephen, I'm going to draw a few names from our raffle. I'm going to actually have Kyle here. He's from Senator Jones's office. We have 5 battery storage containers that we're going to raffle off. If you didn't have a chance to speak with Maria this evening, she was out at the EDCO table. She wanted to talk about battery recycling and how important it is because a lot of those lithium ion batteries are starting fires in their collection trucks and at their recycling facilities. And when a fire starts in a trash truck, they have to dump their load. A lot of times that's on the road, on a freeway, and those fires can then spread to the nearby brush. So it's really, really important that we recycle batteries properly, and as such, we're giving some containers to Jackie. Ah, yes, Jackie. One more. We got 5. Yep. Neil. Come on up, Neil.
All right.
Vanessa, come on up. You got 2 more. Kevin. It's a great last name. Barent. Barent, congratulations. And if you didn't have a chance either, I just wanted to mention that we have Jason and Ethan here tonight as well with Ember Shield Systems. They are a home hardening contractor. They actually installed the fire-rated vents on my own home, and they enclose eaves. I know a lot of people are getting requests from their insurance companies to do certain home hardening things in order to maintain their insurance, and Jason and Ethan are going to be your guys. They're home builders as well, so they're very versed in kind of the right way to do things, and a great resource to have.
All right. Congratulations to you winners there. That's awesome. All right. So, yeah, good evening, everybody. First thing I want to say is I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for taking the time out of a Thursday to come to this class. This has been great already. I love teaching with some of my old friends in the back here, so I'm excited about it. I am tasked with talking about temporary refuge areas, TRAs, which we're going to talk about in detail. I have to give, I guess, maybe a scary presentation. I'll try not to be too scary, but there is a lot of hope, and hopefully give you some tools. So if you do find yourself in a situation where you have to use one of these, which we're going to talk about, that you'll feel prepared to do so. As he said, my name is Stephen Fillmore. I work for the United States Forest Service. I am a long-time career federal employee. I work in fire management, actually mostly fuels management, so mitigating that. I've been in fire for about 25 years. I've got a doctorate in wildfire risk-based decision-making, and I'm a certified wildfire mitigation specialist, and I work on incident management teams as an incident commander as well, too. So I've been doing this for a little bit. Where to start? Oh, and one other thing, too, is I want to say this is a beta delivery. It's the first time I've taught this. So give me some grace. Appreciate it. There's probably going to be some rough edges. So we'll see what works, and we'll see what doesn't work and make it better for next time, right? Okay, so temporary refuge areas for the public, for you guys to know in where, how to use them. So this is my federal training, as we always put unit objectives in this. All our classes have unit objectives, so I don't know why I decided to put unit objectives in this, but at least you know what you're going to get out of this presentation. First, talk about what a TRA is and isn't, what decision points that you guys might face to be able to lead to the use of one. The experience, I want to talk about the experience of possibly using a TRA if you never had to. How to select one and how to prepare to make your own plan for its use, which is really probably the most important part of this. All right, so the first one, what is it? So definitions, I'm not just going to read this to you, but in the context of a wildfire, what a temporary refuge area is something that's pre-identified. It's temporary. It's a place where you can take refuge, short-term relief from an approaching fire. So this isn't you have had an hour to decide whether you want to evacuate or not, right? This is you have to go somewhere right now to protect yourself because your evacuation options have, don't have them, I guess. you don't have a place to go. You have to go someplace that's safe. It's considered a measure of last resort. This isn't your primary plan. And I'm going to say this a couple times in this presentation. It's not the first place you're going to go or want to go. It's only used when your evacuation routes are compromised. To the gentleman in the back that asked about, this presentation is pretty much asking about what you do in those situations and to your question. So anyway, when your evacuations are cut off or compromised or when you can't reach your safety zone, you can't get down to Starbucks and start getting on your phone and reading about the fire. It's when you're in the fire experiencing it. So I want to break it down just a little bit more. Temporary. What's temporary mean? It means we're not staying here longer than needed. It means you're going to get there, you're going to use it for what needs to be done, and then you're going to leave as soon as possible. You might be a place where you just have to stay there while the fire burns past. It's kind of like that video where the car stopped, the fire was there, and then they were able to get out of there. That's the idea. So it's almost like that was like a little 10-second TRA. That's the idea. You're not staying there longer than you need to. Nobody's there to help you when you get to one. There's not going to be any services. There's not going to be anybody giving you cookies and a blanket and first aid and a bottle of water. It's going to be what you have is what you have. No assistance, no aid, unless there's like a fire truck or an ambulance or somebody that just happens to be there. When you arrive to a TRA, it's going to be what you're wearing, water you bring, personal items. If you're dragging a suitcase, it's pets, it's family members, it's whatever you bring. You kind of get the idea with what I'm saying with this? Yeah. And part of this goes in, and I bring it up, is because this has to do with the planning for later. This is something from the South Marin Fire Safe Council. They have a lot of good videos. One of their videos talks about what happens if you must evacuate. And I actually like this. I just pulled this. And one of the things they mention is dress family members in long sleeves. We saw the videos with everyone in their shorts and their flip-flops. Okay, you're driving down Interstate 50, you're coming back from Zion Park or whatever. You're probably going to be in your flip-flops. But if you got a minute to leave the house and take an extra 5 seconds, throw on a long sleeve shirt, cotton or wool preferable. Wear gloves, head and eye protection. Those full coverage, dorky looking goggles that come with your table saws that you never use. Those things are fantastic for fires. And cover your face. And Rex had mentioned this already. So if there's anything that you can put in your car in addition to the other things you might have in a car, an N95 mask, a pair of leather gloves, and full face protection, maybe for a couple people, would be a great thing to put in your car just in case you need it. And a long sleeve shirt, if I didn't mention that. Okay, refuge. Again, serves an immediate need, and its goal is protection and survival from a fire. Your whole goal in this point, again, survival. That's what you're trying to do at that moment. You've left your house, you've probably left your car at that point. You're just trying to survive this fire situation. The number one thing that you need to do in these situations is you need to separate yourself from that flame front. This is your primary concern. It is amazing to me as a firefighter, the amount of times I just 5 feet difference from a flame front, 10 feet difference from a flame front. It's actually one of the things I like to do is sometimes walk along the fire line, and actually, this might sound kind of silly, but actually close my eyes and just kind of feel the fire. You kind of feel the way the winds go. You kind of feel the smoke. You kind of feel the heat, and that's something that you can do. You can kind of sense where that fire is going. And I think that, when you tell the stories about people like walking around Coffee Park or walking around Palisades like Thomas talked about, it's one of the things you want to do is don't just look at the fire, like feel it, find a way away from it. So if you feel heat, let's go this way. And that could be something you do every 15 seconds. So again, separate yourself from the flame front. And you also want to separate yourself from those convective gases and heat. So convective energy, convective just means hot air rising, right? We all know that hot air rises. Hot air rises, gases, you don't want to breathe those things in, smoke. This is something else you want to do is you don't want to be like, say, above a slope where that gas and that heat and that smoke is all going to go up the hill straight towards you. So be thinking about that. And that's one of those things where you're just walking around, you can kind of sense it, right? But remember, if you're in a TRA, it's not gonna protect you from all the smoke and not all the embers and not all the radiant heat. So if you find yourself in those situations, like those people driving down the freeway, do you remember what the woman said? She said, "It's hot," and that was like 150 feet away. I was actually surprised that she could feel that heat, but it is amazing how much that radiant heat will come through and come right through your windows. Like your windows help with that, but they don't help nearly as much as you think it might. So. Okay, and then area. We all know what an area is, right? So it's just space, distance, separation. What are some examples? We've gone this far in this presentation. What are you guys thinking in your own head of what a TRA might be, or an example of one might be? Ball field. That's number one. Of course, you're going to go to a ball field, right? What else? Parking lots are awesome. Yep, there's a great video of... I can't remember what fire it was, but there was a Kmart burning down. Well, the Kmart parking lot was empty. I mean, you can stay in there all day, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay. Was there no? The school? Inside the school or outside the school? Inside, if you can get in there. I actually like that. I like that answer because inside buildings can absolutely be a TRA. Firefighters we use buildings sometimes. Obviously, if the building is going to catch on fire, but yeah, buildings can serve that protection. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. Okay, so for your planning purposes, a known location is preferable. So you're going to want to start making a plan. Where are your TRAs? You're all thinking of the ball field. You're all thinking of a park. You're all thinking of what's close to you guys in your house, right? So remember, your neighbors are going to have the same idea. Will be known to others. So the same TRA that you have is the same TRA that all your neighbors have, which is fine, except for what happens if you have a TRA that's like a ball field. How many people are going to be able to fit in that? And what happens when they all bring their cars to it and they're trying to park, right? You kind of see where I'm getting at it? So you want to plan for that too. You want to plan for the best option might be the option that everyone goes for. So what might be a better option than the best option? The next best option. That's right, because it might be just as good. Or an impromptu location. So like you said, inside a building. That's the number one right there. Lee side of a wall, hedge, or fence. If you're walking down the street, walk inside somebody's yard and get on the other side of the fence just to give yourself 10 seconds of additional protection from radiant heat. Inside water. I'm actually got a video of this, so I guess you said don't get in the pool. Sometimes you can get in the pool. Or ocean or a lake or whatever. Inside a vehicle, if you have a vehicle or a low spot in terrain, you got to be careful with that. Make sure you're not in an area that's going to funnel heat and smoke. But if you can just use like terrain, like a hill or a cliff or the side of the road embankment, anything to block that fire. Because remember, what are we trying to do? Trying to get away from the flame, right? Trying to get away from that heat. But remember, civilians and firefighters both have died. They've been injured in TRAs, so it's not optimal. It's not the best thing that you want to do. You might get burned. You're definitely going to have smoke inhalation. It's not the best thing. Far better, obviously, to evacuate early if you can, or stay and defend if you have prepared, which you'll get different answers from different people that you talk to about whether you should stay or defend or not. Looking at my CAL FIRE friends, LA actually has sort of changed their opinion on this and have started to train people to stay and defend. And if you actually look at the research in Australia, their approach is that if you've prepared your property and you can stay and defend it, you actually have something like an 85% higher chance of saving your own home. So, yeah, there's real advantage to doing that if you have prepared. And the trick is don't stay unless you have prepared, unless your house is ready to go. And actually, I got an example of that. Let's see, this might end up being redundant, but what do you think it makes a good or a bad TRA? We'll do this Family Feud style, which is what survey says, right? All right, so survey says what makes a good temporary refuge area? You're not a part of it. The family. Would you say bare dirt? All right, we'll go bare dirt. Yeah, I actually don't have Family Feud on here. I'll just click the slide when we're done. But what else besides bare dirt? Yeah, bare dirt area that's maybe an acre in size, half an acre, a parking lot, whatever. All right, what else? Concrete building. Yep. Why? Because it doesn't burn. Absolutely. Any other ideas so far from the videos and things that you've seen? Big parking lots. Yep. I guess we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, didn't we? Maybe this is a part of that slide I need to get rid of. It's my beta. It's my beta version, remember? All right. So what makes a good one? Actually, these are some more characteristics, I guess, than exactly examples. I'll work on that, thanks. So enough separation distance. So you might have, to Rex's point, 5 square feet of bare dirt. Is that going to help you? Probably not. You want to make sure it's big enough. Free of burnable fuels. You don't want to stand inside a grass field with grass up to here because that's going to burn. You want to make sure it's not going to burn under you. Is known to exist. Known to who to exist is it important for? Sounded like Yoda. Who needs to know that TRA exists? No. You need to know it exists. The firefighters, they're going to fight the fire. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. No. This is all about protecting yourself. The firefighters will find you eventually. I like Now you need to know it exists, because if you don't know it exists, if you don't know like that dirt field hiding behind the tree line is there, then it's not going to do you any good. So, I don't know, play around on Google Earth, figure out where you're going to go. You have to be able to access it. Is it behind a 20-foot tall gate? Do you not know the gate code? Do you not know how to get there? It's a place that you can access. Is it flat or sheltered? You don't want to really go find a place that's on like a 60-degree slope. That's I mean, unless you really have to, but that funnels smoke and heat and fire is not good. And this one's a little iffy, but it'd be great if you could find a place that also does not impede the firefighting. And one example I was thinking of is like, don't go congregate and park your car in front of or in the middle of like an intersection, for instance. Right? Honestly, like an intersection is actually a good place to go, especially if it's a nice big intersection. But there's going to be cars and firefighting equipment and stuff that are probably going to be going through there. So if you have to, cool. But, try not to impede the firefighting efforts. Anything else that you can think of? Yeah, actually, that's fantastic. Fantastic answer. Yeah. You remember that photograph that Rex showed where all the vehicles were coming the other way and the car was going? Did you happen to notice what was to the right side of that photo? Is what we call the black. It had already burned. So I suspect the reason all those cars came back is because they came back to the black. So yes, absolutely. If you can go to a previously burned area or something that's like even currently burning down, way better. That was a fantastic answer. I'm going to put that in there. Thank you. What makes a bad one? The opposite. Okay. All right. So identify what decision points lead to the use of a TRA. So what are some of the decision points that you might be faced with leads you to use one of these things? So I took this photograph from not my hometown, but where I live in Santee right now. This is a photo of Santee. This is a neighborhood that they just built a few years ago, so I assume that it is. There's a laser pointer on here. Is it the top? The red one. I'm colorblind. Oh, here we go. I just hit the square. I don't know if that does anything. So they just built this, and it's probably good home defense or whatever. But one of the things that drive me crazy, so I taught my son partly to drive back in here, and I couldn't stand it because if you look at it, it's so tight in here, and there's actually basically just one lane down the middle of here. This is the kind of neighborhood that if I was living in, I would probably want to evacuate. And I don't think there's really much that you can do to create area around to stay defended, unfortunately. And it's funny because like right next door, you can see the houses that were built in the 60s and the 70s, much more spaced open. The other thing, too, is if these things do catch fire, the flame lengths off these two-story houses, which they're nice houses, are going to be much greater, and you're probably not going to be able to walk down the middle of the street if both sides are on fire. But over here, just 100 feet away, 200 feet away, you could probably walk down the street even if both of them were on fire. Do you see any TRAs in this picture? The lake? Well, we say we can't get in the water. You don't want to get in Santee Lakes? That's my drinking water, so I'd appreciate it. No, absolutely. Yeah, I would be trucking down the lake. So I was thinking this to myself when I was making this presentation. I'm like, yeah, you get down the lake. Well, then I started asking myself the question, how are you going to get to the lake? So if you live over in this house, how are you going to get to that lake? On foot? Of course, well, absolutely. But on foot, how? You're going to have to get through what? One, because everybody in California has fences, right? Is there anybody here who doesn't have a fence in their yard? You? All right, fantastic. That's the one. But you're going to build one as soon as you can, right? Yeah, exactly. So you're going to hop, what, one fence? There's actually a slope here, another fence, another fence, another fence. There's like 4 or 5 fences here. But I don't know. If it was me, I'm like, well, maybe I'll go down this way and then scoot through, and I don't know. Maybe you have to hop a fence. Are you guys prepared to hop a fence to get away from a fire? That's right. Of course. I would if I needed to. Anyway, yeah, it's a good TRA, Santee Lakes, and if you got kids, there's some playgrounds there, so it gives them something to do. Okay. But if your house and property look like this happens to be in Dulzer, I believe. Apparently, they got like a $150,000 grant to retrofit this house to be basically fireproof or whatever, fire resistant. If I lived in this house and a fire came up around me, I'd be sitting right here at this fire pit. Maybe I'd even make a fire. I don't know. And if things got really bad, I guess there's the pool there. But yeah, I'd be staying there all day long. You got nice clearance. It looks good. If any sparks land on the house, I'll fire up my hose. Just things to consider. This is actually, your TRA could be your house. You see where I'm going with this? It really could if you have prepared. And frankly, that's ideal because you can get in the fridge if you get hungry. Okay, decision points. Decision points. This is probably like the heart of the heart of my lecture here. So, am I doing all right on time, by the way? I'm getting there. I promised him 30 minutes, but I said it's probably more like 40. So, all right. So, what do you do when? What do you do when? What do you do when no advance warning is given? Does that ever happen in a fire? Yeah, it's almost the rule rather than the exception. So, what do you do when no advance warning is given and you got to go? Here's my answer: don't expect any. Don't expect any. Don't expect that text to come. Don't expect the sheriff to come knocking on your door. Be prepared and be in a position where you don't need that. You don't care. I'm going to take care of myself. I don't need that advance warning. I'm going to deal with it. What happens when you see fire, smoke heading your direction? My answer is just take a breath. It's scary. But what did you guys all observe in those videos that we looked at already? You notice that there were some people that were kind of panicking a little bit, but you all remarked on the fact that some of the people were not, and you liked that. You appreciated that. And it's hard to do sometimes, but the first thing you can do when you're in a situation like this is just take a breath. Place yourself in the context of the situation. And what I mean by that is you walk out your front door, you see where the smoke is. You got 360 degrees of options. Look to see which direction the smoke is going, because what's that going to tell you about where the fire is going? Fires tend to move in the same direction the smoke is going. So if you walk out front, you look up, and you're like, oh, I don't want to go that way. So retreat or move to the flank of the fire. So if I was planning on you actually being standing, Rex, and I was going to use you as an example here. So yeah, come on here. Let's do this. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this is properly illustrative. All right, so I want to get past Rex because he's the fire coming towards me. So what am I going to do? Am I going to walk right towards him? That's right, because you're walking right into the fire. What am I going to do? I'm going to retreat. Or I'm going to move, hopefully that. Or I'm going to go to the flank of the fire. This might seem like a silly example, but do you get what I'm saying? But what I got to do is I got to walk out my house, and I got to see where Rex is. I got to walk out my house. Thank you. Beautiful assistant. Yes, absolutely. Question. Yes, I knew that somebody was going to say that because that's jargon. That's firefighter jargon. I apologize. So the flank is, are you going to talk about this later? I don't want to steal your thunder. You sure? It's the side of the fire. So you have the heel of the fire, which is where it starts in the bottom. You have the head, which is up towards the top where it's burning to. So you want to move to the flank of it. Any military people in here, you probably recognize a flanking maneuver too. It's just getting to the side of it. Just get out of its way. And if you can get away from it the way it's going, great, but you don't want to go head towards it because it's surprising. Yeah, sure. I don't want to steal Bill's thunder, though. You don't do any of that? Okay, all right. Or you guys don't talk about that, right? Like, okay. Oh, fire pitcher, sweet. Make you guys firefighters. All right. So, you got it? Okay. So you got what would be the heel of the fire down here. This is where the fire started. You can see that it is already burned. Up here is what we call the head of the fire. You don't want to, so if you're here, you want to move out to the flanks of the fire or retreat that way, right? Or what? Or to the heel. Yeah, if you can get out to the heel of the fire. But what you don't want to try to do is go straight through it, obviously. That's obvious, right? It's not obvious to everyone. If you, yeah, no, that's a good question. If it's already all the way around you, kind of doesn't matter. But yeah, if you can walk out and see it, just look up a little bit and see which way that smoke is bending, because that will tell you the direction that the fire is going to go. And if it's like, I don't know, out here and moving, and you're looking at it and it's going right to left, you're already on the flank of the fire. So just move further to the flank of the fire or move further towards the rear of it. That's why I say, I think what I wrote here is you got to go out there, take a breath, and contextualize yourself. Find the context of your situation. Find where you're at in relation to that fire, and then make a plan. Don't just start driving, right? Okay, or walking. Okay, so you're watching the game, and the sheriff starts banging on your front door telling you to leave now. That's the situation you're in. It's a scary situation, and it happens. So my answer is don't waste time arguing. Don't try to find more information from the policeman. He's told you what he's going to tell you. He's not going to tell you where IC or evacuation center is. He's not going to tell you what the best. You need to leave now because he needs to go to the next house and the next house and the next house, right? So don't waste time arguing. You're okay, though, because what are you going to do? You're going to enact your plan because you've already thought about it. You've been to this class. You're already so far along because you're sitting here right now. So this is no big deal. You say, okay, thank you, officer. Appreciate it. We'll get out of here. You go grab your long sleeve shirt and your gloves and your hat and whatever else. Grab up your kiddos and your go bag because you all have go bags, right? Okay. So easy peasy. No big deal. I trained for this. The street is rapidly filling with cars. I think this was already mentioned. Does the street rapidly fill with cars during an evacuation? Cars. Assess. It's fine if the street is rapidly filling with cars. Are they moving in the right direction? Are you happy with that? Are they moving at all? Are they moving the place that you want to go? Cool. What happens if they're not? What if they're all stranded? What if you see a bunch of cars with doors open and people leaving them? Is that going to be a viable option for you anymore? No. Weigh the advantages of getting in your car and driving away. If you can, cool. That's absolutely the best way. Drive down to Starbucks, start, popping on KCBS and see what's going on. But if not, you gotta weigh the advantages. Okay, so what do you do when you're in the car now and the traffic stops? And the traffic stops, but the fire is still coming. What do? You could. Remember this, movement to safety is the only option. If your car is still moving at a good clip, and I don't mean just a little bit, if it's still moving, that's probably still going to be your best option. But if you're just sitting there in a line of cars and it's not going anywhere and the fire coming, idling cars are death traps. It is true that a lot of people die in their cars when they're evacuating. It's just a fact. And the reason is people just don't want to abandon their car because they think it's the best option. Well, it's not your best option. Your car is great until it's not, and then it is probably among the worst things that you can do. Don't be afraid to abandon your car and get out on foot and find those little pockets. It's going to be worse because you're going to be sucking in smoke and you're going to feel heat and all those sort of things, but it's going to be better than sitting in that car. Yes. Yes. Ooh, that's a good question. If you got two cars, should you take both cars? What do you think? There's no right answer. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So the consensus is one car. I would say maybe the exception is if you evacuate super, super early, maybe. Yeah, if you want to take both cars. Yeah. Definitely one car. I think that's great advice. Thank you. Yeah. Great question, too. That's a really good question because these are the things that you have to pre-plan. You don't want to be like, do I take one? Do I take two? Do I take one? I already have that answer if you can. And that's the point. You guys see the point of this is planning. Think about this. So you look in the back and you can carry a family member or you can drag a suitcase of mementos, but not both. What do? Depends on the family member. Didn't anticipate that answer, but that's a solid one. I can talk about my son. Have you verbalized this decision ahead of time? This is maybe not such an easy answer or decision when you're in the midst of it because really the reality is you really want to let go of those papers and those photographs and whatever else is in your bag. You really don't, and it can slow you down. So one of the things I recommend is there's psychology to this. If you look at your bag or you look at your car and you say, bag, I love you, car, I love you, but I'm willing to leave you behind. You have to do this ahead of time because you don't want to have to try to do that in the moment. So if you all go home and look at your go bags and say, thank you, go bag, but I might have to leave you someday. Have you thought to put your contact information on that bag? Because you might just be able to put that bag on the sidewalk or someplace you think is not going to burn and leave it behind, and hopefully there will be a good Samaritan or somebody that will reunite you with it later, right? Make that decision ahead of time. You get out of the car in blinding smoke and heat, and I hit the button already, and embers start to sting your arms like bees, which they do. What PPE do you have available? What have you put in your car already? You guys have already decided to go put a pair or two of leather gloves and masks and stuff and an N95. It is amazing the difference that just having eye protection and breathing protection can make when it comes to your own decision making. Because the thing is, if you're choking and blind and struggling, are you going to be making good decisions for your safety and those of you around you? No. It is amazing if you can just protect your airway and protect your eyes. You can actually walk through the smoke and kind of be a little superhero-ish. There's people that are on these videos that you've seen. I'm sure all the videos, a lot of them that are wearing N95s are actually, it's so much better. It gives you such an advantage over other people or whatever, just over the situation, really, is what we're trying to have an advantage over. If you can just breathe and see. It's amazing, the difference. So be prepared to breathe and see. That's the take home. So do you know what to do and where to go if you can't evacuate fully? That's really a question for you guys. Do you know what to do? You know where to go? Okay. This is just a quick aside. I probably end up taking this out, but back to Lahaina, back to the case study. This is more about information, which I think you guys are going to cover anyway. But just saying, because I am a social scientist, I just couldn't help but to put a little bit of social science in here. In this case study, 93% of the residents did not receive official alerts. So almost nobody got an official alert. You don't count on, this is what I said earlier, don't necessarily count on receiving that alert. Half of all people just became of the wildfire because they saw it. They just saw it. They're like, oh, there's a wildfire. I should probably do something. Others alerted by social cues. They're sitting inside watching TV and they're like, oh, why are the Jones throwing suitcases into their car? Yeah, does that ever happen to anybody in here? Looked outside, they're evacuating. The zombies are coming. Exactly. Yeah. So 20% saw other people evacuating, and then although 12% were warned face-to-face, 13 by text messages, these all almost came from your peers. So even in the instance that somebody comes and actually tells you or texts you, most of the time it's going to come from a family member. And it's probably somebody who has, watch duty or pulse point or one of these things that these guys are going to talk about later. Yes. Correct. So my understanding is it didn't actually work. It failed. But Maui and that area, they're not used to wildfires like this, so they don't have as robust of a system. That's my understanding. Anybody else? Yeah, that's my understanding. So, and there's going to be times when you do get an alert. There's going to be times when you don't get an alert. And there could be times where there's not even time for you to get an alert because the fire started 3 doors down. You know what I mean? So really the take home is just be prepared for it and don't necessarily expect it. Yeah. So anyway, let's see, alternative source of information. We're going to talk about information gathering later. Some residents chose to evacuate, others delayed their departure and opted to wait for further information, and then others stayed and defended. These are basically the 3 categories that people fall into when a fire happens. You're either going to get out of there as soon as possible, like people who evacuate if their neighbor has a campfire and they don't know what's going on. Most people, and this is kind of that early adopter type psychology, a lot of people will delay their departure because they don't want to leave their house because, it's a pain in the butt and it's inconvenient and it's scary and they want for further information. You might wait forever for further information and not get it. And then some people just stayed. This is consistent across all social science research. All right, decision points. Again, just to reemphasize, TRA is not your primary plan. Don't plan on just like, hey, if a fire happens, I'm just going to go to the ball field. Your first plan is get to Starbucks, right? Second plan, ball field. Important thing, you have a plan. Almost always secondary or even tertiary. Know your plan and its own fallback options. So again, ball field, cool. Everyone is going to go to the ball field. Well, maybe they're not going to go to the rock quarry or they're not going to go to the school or whatever. Come up with your own innovative ideas because there's all kinds of TRAs that are out there if you look. And I looked at you guys' area in here and I saw plenty. And remember, timing is everything. You got to game the scenario out. You got to think about how long is it going to take to get there? What if I can't get there? How long is it going to take to get there? And be creative. I never see people evacuating on a bicycle. You ever see anybody evacuate? Yeah. How many people have a bike in their garage? You ever considered evacuating on your bike? Good. Be creative. Or your scooter, or your Segway, or whatever you might have. Rollerblades. I love rollerblades. of course. Yes. I would think so, yes. Yeah, it does fit a lot of people. What about their cars? Yeah. All right, so the takeaway is everyone needs to get in shape, get prepared, do some reps. No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I wasn't really going to talk about that, but yeah, you have to be able to physically get there. And I'm kind of ignoring the fact that there are people with mobility issues who can't, and it gets into a wider conversation. But if you happen to know that your neighbor is, probably can't get out, try to be that good person and go get them and wheel them out. Yeah, there's all kinds of stories about people who just can't get out, and honestly, those are the saddest stories. So if anything you can do, maybe incorporate that into your plan. I'm going to take myself, and I'm going to take Mrs. Jones next door too, because she's in a wheelchair or whatever, right? Yeah. All right, very good. What else we have? All right, so I don't have a whole lot, but I do want to mention this. Wildfire is chaos. Have you guys experienced wildfire? How many of you guys have experienced wildfire? It's pretty organized, right? Pretty sane. You knew what was going on the whole time. It's part of the reason why firefighters kind of like wildfire. Part of the reason why I like it. It's kind of chaotic, but I have 25 years of experience and training and everything. It's not so much fun if you don't have that. It's kind of crazy. It is a state of social disruption that most people will never experience in their entire lives. We experience it more in Southern California, but this really is like zombie apocalypse stuff, right? I mean, if you look at those videos, people are walking around, they're crossing each other, cars are on the side of the road. I mean, it is a whole different experience. It's crazy for us that do it too. It's not very much fun. It is something that you'll never get used to. It's not something you can really train for. It's something that you can prepare for, though. So I'm just going to tell you guys right now, if a big fire happens, it's going to be kind of crazy out there. Social order kind of breaks down. People don't necessarily help each other out. You kind of have to fend for your own. And again, it's not very like happy, positive message, but it is kind of the truth. Like you kind of have to take care of yourself. And if you can take care of somebody else, awesome. How do you prepare for it? You can't. How do you survive it? You follow your plan. Basic rules of emergency survival, and there's all kinds of essays about this. Follow your training, follow your plan, but really, if you have a failed plan, don't just keep trying. Improvise. I don't know, find a scooter or get into a building or just find a way to survive. And if you want to do a QR code there, that's a survival essay I found interesting, but no big deal if you don't. There's lots of good stuff online. Again, this whole thing is about trying to survive. All right, I got a couple of videos. I'm sorry, I'm not very photo heavy in this, but I got a couple of videos on my screen.
We've just been evacuated. We've just been evacuated from this Good Samaritan's car. You got it, Dad. We're having to walk.
Helping his dad out.
This is crazy. There's a fire right outside our car.
Pause. Okay, how does it look? Does it actually look too bad right there?
What?
No, it's fine. Just leave it. It doesn't actually look too bad at that point, right? And why does everyone take out their cell phone? It drives me crazy. Don't take out your cell phone. Survive. Once you get to Starbucks, then you can take out your cell phone. And I want to see this person. I want to see if you think this person's following their plan.
Okay, grab this pole. Grab this pole. Thank you. Thank you.
She following her plan right now?
Dad. Hold on to that, okay? Come on, Dad. Turn around.
All right. Yeah, she's kind of making it up as she goes at that point. And maybe that person just lost their house. Or just lost their car. But do you think that person's making good decisions right now? No, they're not. And I hate to say that about that person. I don't know that person. That person is not the person that's going to survive a fire. Well, probably in this case, but whatever. All right. So let's look at a couple other videos. I think next. Do you want me to hit it or do you want to hit it? Okay, let's see if this works. All right. This is one of my favorites, and this contradicts what Rex said, so I actually love this video. Go ahead and see if you can click that. What's happening? The hotel is on fire.
Yes, you are.
Their bags are right there. So one of the things she says is, John's never going to believe me. And the other one says, yeah, he will. Because they have video. They're in the hotel pool. They're totally fine. It's actually something you might have noticed is it spun all the way around because she's doing a 360. The place in the pool they were at was next to the building that had already been burning for a while and it was kind of burning down. They were away from that giant I mean, honestly, they look like they were fine. They definitely survived that fire. And if I was me, I would have tried to run to the bar real quick and see if I could have grabbed something while I was in the pool, but that's just me. I was going to burn down anyway. All right, should be another one. Okay. This is going back to a TRA, and I really like this video. This is one from Lahaina. Nope. It's very dramatic. Have you guys seen this one where they escape to the ocean?
We gotta walk. Where?
He said, we got walk. And she says, where? Is that the right answer? No. They're in a long line of cars trying to get out. That smoke is coming right at them. Right now, their car is probably their best place, but the cars aren't moving. The fire's still coming to them. So what do? They decide to get out of the car. They abandon their car. And then they go sit by the breakwater. On his phone. Kids.
Just close your eyes.
All right, so they made the right decision. They got out of their car. Unfortunately, I think some people actually died, unfortunately, in the ocean in Maui. So, again, TRA is not always the best option, but they made the best option that they could. They didn't just sit in their car. So does that answer kind of some of your questions about what to do about the cars? It's all situational. All right, I'm almost done here. I'm probably over. Sure. Yeah. I wasn't there. I don't know for sure. I think they drowned, unfortunately. Yeah. Yeah, I think they drowned. Yeah. Yep. Yep. So, I mean, it was great where they were at was up on the breakwater, but for whatever reason, they got into the water and they couldn't get through it. Maybe smoke overcame them. Maybe they were exhausted. I don't really know. But, yeah. Okay. So, you guys, where is your TRA? And this is really wrapping up. So, do you all been thinking about this? I've been talking for the last 35 minutes or so. Do you feel like you know where to go? Who wants to tell me where they're going to go? Say that again. The middle school. That sounds fantastic to me. How long is it going to take for you to get there? Okay. You can take your little guy with you? Okay. How long is it going to... He's going to carry you? Pull you in the cart? Are you ready to go? No? I like that honesty. All right, I hope you remember this thing. Go ahead. How would Double Park Peak be? Well, I'm not from here, so I'm going to defer to somebody else. How would Double Park Peak be? Double Peak Park. Yeah, I actually saw that on the map. Not a good choice. Why? Yeah. Okay. So not a good place to go. Fire burns.
I did want to mention, though, that we have some UCSD cameras up there now at the top of Double Peak Park. So they use AI and they're constantly scanning. So they notice when that smoke comes up and they can notify the fire service first a lot of times before it's even called in. So that's been a ad within the last year for this area, which is great for us.
So that's a huge asset. Those cameras are fantastic. Early detection means early warning, right? So anybody else want to talk about where they might go? It's actually a good conversation to talk about where to go and where not to go. How about one more? Double Peak School. Do you think you have enough TRAs for everybody in San Leo Hills? No? What? Really? Okay. Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, I tried to make that clear earlier. You guys understand where this is, again, you can't make it to Starbucks. You can't make it out. This is your fallback option. Do I need to make that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead. I would assume so, yeah, but I don't know. Concrete, yeah. Lizzie?
Double Peak School and San Alejo Elementary School are kind of the pre-designated TRAs for the area. But like he mentioned, the best thing is to get all the way out. If for some reason you are trapped and need a pre-designated TRA, that is an option. But hopefully, in the best case scenario, you want to look at your Genesis Protect app and stay up to date on that so that the authorities can tell you where the best place to go is. And they may identify a TRA as well that would be a preferred location over those. Genesis Protect.
I think we're going to talk about that later,
Yeah,
right?
Mike will talk about that.
Okay, Mike will talk. All right. So I think I've used
Do one more question.
enough time, so I would go ahead. Sorry.
in West Cliff, and I think this is true in a few of the other neighborhoods too. The road going from West Cliff down to Promontory Ridge has been cut off. Will those roads be opened up in the event of a fire?
That would be a fire department call. Do you want to talk about that? You know, maybe that's something that we can have Bill talk about a little bit when he comes up and gives his presentation.
Oh, sorry.
Get used to it for your presentation later.
No, we've talked about it, and the gates are not going to be open. We're going to try, like if O'Connell's out and around, they're going to try to get as many of those gates open as they can, but the gates won't be open. And, one of the things you can do is you can either try to ram the gate if you need to. You can have, if you have bolt cutters, I'm sure probably nobody in this room has bolt cutters at home, but if you do have bolt cutters, he's got bolt cutters. He's going to lead the way out. You can actually cut the locks off the gates, open the gates yourself, and go through. The one thing you want to make sure, though, is those roads are not cleared very well. So if you have fire that's down in there, you could be driving down into a death trap. We are working as a Fire Safe Council and with the HOA and with O'Connell to try to get those cleared back 20 feet, 25 feet from the road so that we can use those if we need them. So more to come on that. So.
All right, thanks, guys. These are great questions. I think I'm going to wrap up. I really appreciate the engagement, and hopefully you guys get the point, which is like not the first thing that you want to do, but really what you need to do is make a plan, go home and really think about what you're going to do and be prepared for it, and be prepared to save yourself, right? Okay, appreciate things. I think that's all I got. Just going to look at, here's my contacts, but if you want any of my contact information, I've got some cards and some stuff later. So thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate this. Yep, thanks.
We're going to take a 5-minute break. There's bathrooms back here. There's still plenty of food. If you're hungry, please.
Hey, one thing I wanted to go over was a question came up. Should I wet my T-shirt and pull a wet T-shirt over my head if I'm trapped? And the answer is no. You do not want to wet a bandana or wet a T-shirt because when the flames and heat touch that wet T-shirt, it's going to make steam, and you're going to breathe the steam in, and that's going to damage your airway really bad. So no wet bandanas, no wet T-shirts. Try to stay dry. I'll let Mike introduce himself.
Good evening. My name is Mike Cornett. I'm an information officer with Cal Fire and San Diego County Fire. I've worked with the department for about 20 years. I've worked in various places throughout the state. I currently work in our community risk reduction, working as liaison between the fire department and the fire safe councils. Today we're going to talk about, or this evening we're going to talk about wildfires in the digital age. We've talked about some slides. Rex brought up some slides, and we talked about decision points and TRAs. Now we're going to figure out where to find this information to help us make the decision. Obviously, it's going to take time to access some of this information. And if you're in the immediate danger, it's time to leave. It's best to listen to official updates and authorities for that guidance. But that's not always going going to be here. So I wanted to start out, who knows about watch duty? Lots of people know about watch duty, right? What about a little less? What about Genesis Protect? I know we talked about it briefly, and that's good. We're going to talk about it more in depth at the end of the slideshow, but that's probably the number one app everybody should have on their cell phones. So when we talk about information when it comes to wildland fire, before the first official post comes out, probably before the first 911 call, it's the information is out there. Whether it's your neighbors telling you that there's a fire down the street, whether you're looking at, like they were talking about your neighbors evacuating, they're packing their bags, that information is out there and it's accessible. You just got to figure out where to find it and where to be able to access that information to be able to make your decision, and especially before the first fire engine gets on scene, because it takes some time for the 911 call dispatcher to send the dispatch, the firefighters to get in the truck to get to the scene, and then a decision to be made for that evacuation. Like we talked about, the information there is instantaneous. It's available through different sources, through different applications that we're going to talk about here in a few seconds. It's going to assist you to make your decisions sooner than official notifications are made, because that time in that wedge that Rex was talking about, it's going to take time for us to be able to get to that point where we're putting out official posts, official notifications, and for you to know that you need to evacuate. And it's imperative for you to understand how to use these applications, this information, to make that decision and practice it regularly, because the more you practice it, the more reps you get in, is going to be easier for you to access the information and quicker to find what you're looking for. So we talked about a timeline. The timeline starts with, we see smoke up on the hill. Someone probably pulls out their cell phone, they live stream it, or they post it on Facebook before they call 911. So there's a little bit of lag there. 911 is called, the dispatcher dispatches the resources, they make their notifications. The dispatchers, what we're going to talk about, like we talked about the cameras, and you saw on that first screen, they're going to point those cameras to the area and confirm that there's smoke, even before the first fire engine arrives on scene. This gives us the ability to augment the response, especially if it's out in East County, where it's going to take 10, 15 minutes for that fire engine to respond or to get to the scene. The command center is going to be able to add more resources. If they think this is going to be a large fire, this new technology gives us that ability. The aircraft start going up. We'll talk about aircraft tracking and how to use that to determine where the fire is, to do our best estimate, to see where those aircraft are working. And then an app alert, that could be Pulse Point, it could be Watch Duty. There's some type of alert probably online. And then we're getting our official post, our official notification from the fire department. Typically, we do it on social media. We do it through our media contacts. We also have the ability to do it on Pulse Point. So how long do you think this whole process takes? It could be 17 minutes. It could be 10 minutes. There's that lag time. Everything takes time, from that first 911 call to the time the incident commander establishes command of that fire, gives his report on conditions, and for us to then post it, it could potentially be 17 minutes. It takes a while. When we're talking about sources of information, there's sources from official sources, and then there's non-official sources. So the official sources are going to be government-sponsored applications, government-sponsored notifications, and those are going to be official information posted by the public information officers and the people that are in charge of that, and that's going to be verified by the emergency command system, or the incident command system. We also have some different ones like the UCSD camera feed, and then media notifications. So if you do see on the news or on the radio, hear those updates. Those are usually official updates from the command staff. Social media. This is a typical post that we put out for. This was a fire up in Duluth, so just up the county a little bit. There's various ways. Your local jurisdiction might do it a different way, but CAL FIRE does Facebook and X. We also have our pulse point notifications. We feed the media with our information to the video and radio media, and then there's these apps. So the apps are Pulse Point, and everybody's familiar with it, Pulse Point, but you can set up notifications for that. So if you follow your local fire department here, San Marcos Fire Department, you can select any type of call that they go on. So if you want to know every single medical aid that they run, your phone's going to be blowing up every probably 5 minutes, and it's just going to become white noise. But you can also select different things. If you want to know if there's a structure fire within your district or a wildland fire, that's the best way to use it. So as soon as the 911 call is received, as soon as the dispatcher hits enter and sends that call to the fire units, this is within a few seconds of that being pushed out. So you're going to know exactly where the wildland fire is, what's responding, and this is going to probably be your first notification, if not from local sources or your neighbors, of what's going on in your area. Sure. Yeah, so that's an online scanner. That'll broadcast all of our radio traffic, and we'll talk about that here in a future slide. No, it's good. I didn't even. No, it's good. I didn't even think about it, but that is a useful feature on that. This is Genesis Protect. We're going to talk about this at the end. You see the different colored zones here. When you look at the map and there is a wildland fire, an emergency, this isn't just for wildland fires. It could be for hazmat, tsunamis, active shooters. Anytime that the law enforcement wants you to vacate an area, they're going to use Genesis Protect. So you see the different colored areas. Yellows are evacuation warnings. Reds are evacuation orders. So this was a fire, I believe, down in Lakeside, and they wanted to evacuate that section there and put the rest on evacuation warning. This will ping your phone at all hours if you subscribe to your zone. So we'll look at what zone we are here, but you can subscribe up to 5 different zones. So if you want to have your house on alerts, and then you have some family members over in Escondido and some other family members down in Chula Vista, you can subscribe up to 5 different zones. So anytime that they switch from normal to order to warning to shelter in place to advisory, you're going to get that notification. So that helps if you have elderly family or someone that needs assistance, and notification, you can make that call or that notification to that person, so they're aware as well. This was it, Thomas, last year or the year before that we put this together? Yeah. So 2 years ago, we dissected the county down into smaller zones. So that's what we say is know your zone. And before, the zones were 1 or 2 miles by 1 mile, so it was a big rectangle on a map. Now they're smaller. They'll incorporate roads. They'll incorporate hospitals. Will be their own zone. So this way, instead of us saying that there's a fire in this area here, and we want to just evacuate the 2,000 or 2,500 people that are in this zone, before we were doing that 1 mile by 2 mile section. So that 2,500 that were affected, we could now be affecting maybe 5,000, 7,500 people that we're pushing out on the roads. So this is much more effective for us. It's much more effective for law enforcement. Ultimately, this is their program. Evacuations are their realm, but this is something very important for us to be able to understand and to utilize. We talked about the the UCSD Alert California cameras. These are high definition cameras, pan, tilt, and zoom, so they can go 360 degrees. They're constantly scanning with artificial intelligence. They're capable of detecting anomalies up to 60 miles during the day and 120 at night. And what that means is they're just looking for anything that's out of the ordinary. That could be a shadow from a cloud on a hill. It could be a truck driving down a dirt road. It's looking for anything that may be smoke. That alert gets sent up to our command center in Rancho San Diego, and they're able to verify whether it's a smoke or not. And then if it is, they can dispatch the resources. We have had success stories right after the system was put into service. There was a fire up in Mount Laguna in the middle of the night. The camera picked up a fire, and before the 911 call, we had the fire wrapped up, and the firefighters were back in the firehouse. So it's a very effective system. There's not a whole lot of success stories here in San Diego like that because we have so many people and the county's so populated. But areas up in Northern California and up along in our forest area is really cool to have. There's other options that when you get on there, you can see where the cameras are pointing. And if you have multiple cameras on this fire, you will be able to see kind of approximately where that fire is by using the intersections of those azimuths. I don't think I included a picture in there, but maybe next time I give this, we'll show it. But that's a helpful tool as well. We can kind of gauge based on where we think the fire is, especially on the Mexican border. We're able to determine how far that fire is from the border. So if we need to send a response, if it's within those guidelines of 1 mile or 2 miles or 3 miles. And it's a helpful tool for you to be able to figure out where that fire, and kind of figure out where your house is on the map. Then you can kind of figure out where that fire is. This is another good resource, but for fires that are ongoing. This is the CAL FIRE website. You can access it on fire.ca.gov. There's lots of good resources on it, lots of good contacts. If you do have want to call the information line for the fire, it has interactive 3D mapping. It has aircraft track or following, so you can see where the aircraft is. And probably coming out later this year, CAL FIRE is coming out with an app that's going to encapsulate all of this good information for you to have. But the coolest thing is we instantly upload the perimeter of the fire. We have sensor aircraft that fly the fire and can kind of map it, and that's almost instantaneous when we do upload that. And they do it 2 or 3 times a day sometimes on those fires. These all have limitations, though. So social media, the limitation is it's not always quick as other sources, and there might be some conflicting information. Rumors spread fast. If you're not looking at those official updates, there's a lot of people that have different opinions. So that's a limitation of our social media. Pulse point is there's always a little bit of human error in there. The dispatcher doesn't tag it correctly as a wildland fire. They might tag it as an assist or something, so that might be a delay there. Genesis Protect, it takes some time, like we talked about in rural areas. It takes some time for the fire department to get there, the sheriff's deputy to get there, and them to come up with a decision to evacuate. And then Alert California, not everything's a new wildland fire. It could be a controlled burn. It could be dust. It could be, I know we have places where there's an incinerator that comes up at 10 a.m. every day, and the camera will alert to it. So there's that limitation. And then the CAL FIRE website's rarely the first source because that threshold for us is 10 acres to create an incident on that. Here's Watch Duty. So it's a semi-official resource. You have a question? Sure. There is the Alert San Diego app, which is great. It has a lot of resources on it. It does take the Genesis, and it has a lot of different resources. But if I was going to have two, I would have Pulse Point and Genesis. And that's something I meant to add in there, and I forgot to with the Alert San Diego information. They also have a lot of good information on recovery, on evacuation centers, and a lot of resources like that. So that would be a good one to have on your phone as well. Here's Watch Duty. Watch Duty is a great app. I have it on both of my phones, my personal phone, my work phone. I made my wife download it. It's great for notifying you that there's a fire. It's great for a lot of different things. It has a lot of the same information that we provide on the other maps, but this isn't official. So this is operated by people that aren't affiliated with the fire department. They may be elsewhere. They might be listening on the radio, and they don't get that clear, concise information. So if you do use Watch Duty, realize that it's great information, but it's not always completely 100% accurate or has been vetted by the fire department. They might push out errors, so it's just good to have, but realize that might be false information that they're pushing out. We talked about some flight trackers. I know the Watch Duty, the paid subscription has flight following. Our website, CalFire or fire.ca.gov has flight tracking, but there's different options for flight tracking, such as Flight Radar. And you can kind of see here on up here, there's a fire. The perimeter's not exactly marked that great, but you can see where the tankers are coming in. You see some holding patterns out here, but you see a lot of that red coming through here. This is where the tankers are coming in, and they're working on the fire. So this is safe to say that the fire is probably most active on this flank. And that's a good idea, or a good resource, because if you live down in this area and you keep seeing the planes flying over and you kind of want to try to figure out where that most active flank is, usually that's where the aircraft are going to be. The limitations are, some people think the more aircraft, the bigger the fire, but that's not always the case, because here in San Diego County, we work real close together, and we always send all the aircraft we can to keep the fire small. And it could be kind of representative of how big that fire is. There's also other constraints if they're not transponding or they go off the radar. But this is just a good source for you to be able to figure out where that active fire is. This is a big one when we talk about evacuations, is using Google Maps, Apple Maps, Waze, anything that's going to show you live traffic information. If we're up here in Monrovia and we need to get east because the fire's over here on the west, you can see that the 210 is red there. We don't want a 210. If you could take the surface street, that would be best. The great thing about the traffic apps is it's usually real time. It's usually pretty quick to update, and it's going to help you in the long run, because that's going to kind of help you guide your exit to safety. Who knows when firefighters size up a fire? Do you think it's right when we get to the fire, when we're seeing what it's burning? No, it's usually months, maybe days, maybe weeks beforehand. Firefighters are always watching the weather. It's something you probably should do. If you know it's going to be hot, it's going to be dry, it's going to be windy, it's probably a good day that they're going to have a wildland fire. So your senses should be up, your go bag should be ready, your car should be fueled, pointed out, ready to go at a moment's notice for evacuations. Plenty of different sources. There's apps on your phone. Windy app is kind of cool. This is a picture of it, and it shows the wind in real time and a little bit of a forecast. So when we do have that Santa Ana wind, you can kind of gauge where the wind is, how fast it's coming, And if you do have a fire at the point of view, you know that it's going to start coming at you quick. Other sources are radio scanners, like the Pulse Point app is great at that. You can get a 5.0 radio or one of those different Broadcastify apps on your phone. You can get a regular scanner if you want. And fire departments use ClearTech, so it's fairly easy to understand. And then does anybody know which radio channel we turn to for emergencies on your radio in your car? 600 AM KOGO is the official emergency channel. So anytime we have a natural disaster or wildland fire, they're always going to be broadcasting. They're going to be probably taking over other channels as well. But just good food for thought. So putting it all together, or pulling it all together, not one source is going to be all-encompassing. You need to be able to look at all those different sources, come up with that plan, figure out if you need to go to your TRA, if you need to go to your safety zone. If you do get an evacuation notice, that is an order to leave. So it's best to do so quickly and expeditiously. Practicing this information, finding this information is going to help you in the long run because you're going to be stressed. You're going to be fires might be coming down on you. By being able to practice this and find that information is going to be key. And then filtering through that information, trying to figure out what is accurate, what is not, being able to look at those different sources to kind of come up with your own opinion on that. Evacuations response depends on accurate information, kind of like we were talking about. Rumors spread faster than wildfires, and we're going to reduce panic by accessing this information expeditiously. And to close it out, we're going to talk about real briefly about evacuation information. An evacuation order that we saw there in Genesis that was in red, that's an order to leave. You're in immediate danger. Usually the deputies or the law enforcement officers are going to come by door to door. But if you do get that alert on your phone, that's going to be quicker than the deputy coming down your street, going from house to house, and you might be 50 or 60 houses in. So that is leave. If you're in a warning, that's you're within a couple hours of being in danger. But if you do need extra time, that's probably a good idea for you to evacuate. And you'll see that on the Genesis Protect app in yellow. And then we have shelter in place. Shelter in place could be for a hazmat. It could be for a variety of different things. But if you do get a shelter in place order, that is stay in your home, lock your door. If you're on a wildland fire, turn on that HVAC to recirculate the air in your home. And I don't know, do you know what color that is on Genesis? Is that blue or purple? So that's purple on Genesis. When we talk about road closures, there's hard closures that they're not going to let anybody through other than firefighters, law enforcement, and media. Soft closure is when they let those three in plus utilities and a couple other people like Ag Pass type people, and then there's residents only. So after the fire's gone through, we've deemed it safe for you guys to go back to your homes. They do a residents only closure, and there's a lot of misconceptions about evacuations and road closures, but as soon as we put in that evacuation order or evacuation warning, we're planning to get you back to your home as soon as possible. But we need to make sure that it's safe for you guys to do so, so we're sending the utility company in to make sure that there's no power lines over the road. We're making sure our firefighters mop up around your home to avoid any hazards there, because we don't want a child or someone to fall into a hot ash pit and burn themselves. So yeah, it might be inconvenient, but we're making sure that it's safe for the residents to occupy their structures. And exercise with a lower E, Exorcist E. If you haven't done so, this is the QR for Genesis. That's the logo. Download that, subscribe to your zone, and if you want to subscribe to any other zones, please do. And then we're going to pull it up here. So when you guys do pull it up, it's going to ask to share your location. It's going to ask to send alerts, and I would say yes to both of those. But when you do pull it up, we are in zone SDC 0850. And you can scroll around and look at the different zones on there. But anytime that these zones are going to change colors or change status, you will get that alert. It is helpful on when we do repopulate. This will notify you way before the shelter or law enforcement or anybody else is going to notify you. So it works leading up to the order, and it works leading down from the order as well. It'll show roadblocks, it'll show evacuation centers, temporary evacuation points, and has a lot of good information. And like we said, we can access this on alertsandiego.com or .org and the app as well. Sure. So this is showing a fire in Merced County. And it'll show different fires throughout the state. There's multiple counties throughout the state that use this. So if you do have a family member or someone that you want to or a zone that you want to follow out of San Diego County, if that county subscribes to this Genesis, you can subscribe to that as well. And you can see it has some general details: acreage, containment, counties affected. Yeah, maybe in a couple months it might be a good example, but and if I had to list all of those sources for information just for the one app, I would say Genesis Protect is the #1 app you should have, because it's going to tell you when you need to leave. It'll give you the resources on where they want you to go. It'll show you the road blocks, and it's trusted, verified information, usually by the sheriff's office that's going to push that out. So this, yeah, obviously this is a shelter in place. So this could be a hazardous materials. It could be a bomb. It could be a number. I don't think it does. Severity is critical. It's telling you shelter in place. And so it could be any number of things. And that's our official evacuation or shelter in place notice in the county. Thomas, do you have anything?
We had a fire just a few years back, right across from the fire station. We had a fire, I think in 2022, the Comet fire over right by Palomar College, where we got the notification. So we'll use the Comet fire as an example. So fire starts. One of the first sources you're going to know that something happened is what? Out of the list of all the things we went through, I'll just say it, Pulse Point. Pulse Point's going to be, because Pulse Point is connected to our CAD that's dispatching us. So unless you happen to be watching the cameras and you happen to be the first one to see it before 911's called, Pulse Point is probably going to be the first source of information. So let's say you have Pulse Point downloaded on your phone. It pings you, vegetation fire, San Marcos, give you the general location. Okay, the next source that you can go to get instant information are the cameras. And there happened to be a camera pointed in that direction for the Comet fire. It doesn't pick up everywhere, so there are spots in San Marcos where a camera is not going to see it right away until it gets more established. But a good source to go to say, okay, I can go to the cameras and see if I see smoke. Okay, I see smoke. Now where am I going to get information? Well, I clicked on the little speaker that Lindsay told us about, so now we're hearing the scanner traffic. Fire equipment is starting to show up and make their decisions. Here in San Marcos, who is your police department? Sheriff, yeah, San Diego County Sheriff Office out of the San Diego County Sheriff out of the San Marcos office is our. I live in San Marcos, so I'll say us. Is our police department, and so who is your fire department? San Marcos Fire, right? So we have resources showing up on scene. You're seeing the smoke on the cameras. You're hearing it on Pulse Point. Fire and law enforcement are now on scene. Cal Fire is coming in to assist because San Marcos has a lot of what's considered state responsibility area. So we're bringing in the planes and bulldozers and crews and extra engines to help support San Marcos because we have a vested interest in supporting them and because we like to help out and we show up to most fires in the county just because we have a lot of equipment that other departments don't. So now we're there with San Marcos Fire and Sheriff deciding where the evacuations need to happen. Sheriff is going door to door immediately to let people know in the immediate area, hey, there's a fire in your backyard, you need to get out now. At the same time, they're working with fire and working through County OES, who runs the website that the gentleman talked about, Ready San Diego or Alert San Diego, which is ran through the County Office of Emergency Services. They're the ones who are actually running the evacuation process. So if to break it down, we're standing at the tailgate, fire department says, we need this community and this community evacuated immediately. It's going to start bumping structures here. We need an evacuation warning in this next community. Sheriff, do your thing. Sheriff works with County OES to push it out. It goes out on Genesis. It goes out on the Alert San Diego page. It gets pushed out through what's called a wireless emergency alert, which is like the Amber Alert thing, the crazy noise that it makes on your phone. It's going out that way, and it's going out through the reverse 911 system here in the county, which is automatic if you have a landline, but you have to sign up for it if you have a cell phone. So a lot of ways that we're getting information out. Here's the struggle is we just laid out all the steps of everything going on. They have to manually type out what the exact notice is that's going out to people when they're pushing the wireless emergency alert. They have to translate it so that when it calls people in reverse 911, some people can't are visually impaired. They have to have a dispatcher actually read out the whole script of what's going on. They have to make sure that it's totally right. And unfortunately, what happens for a lot of our smaller fires is by the time that information gets pushed out, we've done such a good job that we're putting out the fire. And now you're getting the alert as the fire is looking really good, saying things are really bad, you need to evacuate. So that's where the challenge comes in this information. That's why it's so important to diversify where you get your information from. That's why it's okay to have apps like Watch Duty where you're getting other aggregated information and then making your decisions from there. But if you're checking the cameras, if you're watching, if you're looking at Pulse Point and seeing how many resources are there, if you're bringing all this stuff together, you're going to be able to figure out what's going on. Now, I'm not saying don't evacuate if you get the message to evacuate. Still do that, but just know that there is that time delay, and sometimes that in between that time delay, we've been really successful at slowing that fire down. But putting all those pieces together to make your plan is going to be huge, and just knowing and being realistic about how long it takes to get that information to you is really important. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Sheriff is waiting, is doing their best to try and get somebody to actually come to the door to let them know. Fire department is not usually knocking on people's doors unless things are really bad and a house is actively on fire and we need to get them out of there. But ultimately, evacuation is law enforcement. We're doing our best to try and put the fire out. Unfortunately, a lot of times our efforts turn to help with the evacuation process as well, because life safety is number one, right? So our whole goal is to get people out of there. We can't focus on perimeter control unless we can keep people alive in the process. You certainly can. We don't ask people to do that because we do know that for some of the longer term incidents, they do have some minor looting issues. And so advertising that you've left your house is something that we don't want to say like, hey, everybody, unlock your house for the fire department and say that you've evacuated, because if something happens, it ends up falling back on you. But ultimately, even if you say that, they're still going to do their best to just make sure, because somebody could actually go to your property trying to seek shelter and end up being stuck there. So something to think about too. All right, Rex says we're out of time. We got to move to the next section, but yeah, oh, good.
Can you do that one? What does it sound like? Oh, true.
This is Bill's pyramid scheme.
Rex,
Take
would
one
you?
more.
Oh, sorry.
That's Alert San Diego. You can go on the County of San Diego website and type in Alert San Diego or Google it.
Bill is going to be our last presenter. So while we wait for him to come up, Rex, would you mind bringing up our Fire Safe Council website really quick? It's what do you mean you don't know what it is? SEHFSC.org. So it's really easy to remember. Santa Leo Hills Fire Safe Council, SEHFSC.org. I just wanted to point out what we have here. We have a bunch of resources. Under resources, we have vetted contractors. We have our bulletins. But one of the things in particular, hit that black little link thing. Yep, right there. So that goes to our link tree, where we have a lot of easy to access links and resources available. If you scroll down a little bit, we have our apps and emergency notifications. So I mentioned before that we have fire cameras on Double Peak. So if you want to see what the fire's looking like, if it's coming from that direction, or what their current view is, you have access to them right there. All right, let's go back. We talked about Watch Duty. We talked about Genesis. We talked about Alert San Diego, SDG&E outage maps. That's also where they do the power safety shutoffs, and the 211 resources. So a lot of times that will have the evacuation information or resources available to you. So this is a really easy place to go to have it all kind of just aggregated in one spot when you guys leave tonight, to make sure that you have access to everything. Next up, we have our very own Bill Mullins. He's the vice president on our board.
Thank you guys for sticking around. I appreciate it. The information I'm going to share with you guys tonight is kind of bringing everything together, but I'm going to dive a little deeper into like some of the evacuation stuff, some of the fire behavior type stuff, talk about the actual fire environment itself, just to kind of give you guys a little idea of how fire works, how to read a fire, how to see smoke and tell whether the smoke's coming to you, if it's going away from you, if it's a big fire, a little fire, this stuff, and make a decision based on what you're seeing. And then I hit a button to move it on. There we go. So a little bit about me. There's a Bill Mullins circa 2000. I really think I haven't really aged, so I'm pretty much the same guy right there. See the smile? I don't have the sunglasses, but that was actually, took that on a fire when I worked for CAL FIRE back in 2000. It was up at Fort Hunter Liggett, and yeah, good times. A little bit about me. Like I said, I'm the Fire Safe Council Vice President. I started out my fire career actually when I was born. My dad was a fireman. My grandpa was a fireman. My uncle was a fireman. I didn't want to be a fireman. I wanted to be a professional sailor, but that didn't really work out too good. So I chose the family career. I worked in San Bernardino County Fire from 96 to 99. I worked up in the Big Bear area. I lived up there as well. It was great working in my community, kind of like I'm doing now. I then worked for CAL FIRE from 1999 to 2000. Great experience. Went out on a lot of fires. Had a really good time. Went all over the state. Actually went to Montana. Went into Canada. It was great times. Sometimes I wish I would have stayed, but Carlsbad called, gave me a job, and I've been in Carlsbad ever since. So, and just like Stephen had said earlier, being a fire guy, we have our objectives here. My objectives tonight is we're going to review fire behavior in the fire environment. Like I said, reading the smoke, reading the flames. We're going to discuss pre-fire planning, where to go, what to take with you, evacuation routes, and also we have this acronym called PACE. I'm going to talk to you guys about that in a little bit as well. We'll also talk about making good decisions under stress using the STOP acronym as well. I'll explain this all to you later. And then also how to evacuate. You get the evacuation notice, what do you do? Understanding smoke. When you have a fire creates products of combustion. It's called smoke. The heat pushes it up into the atmosphere. And depending on the size of the fire, how high the smoke is going to go. So on your typical normal fires around here, you might get smoke going up about 1,000 feet. As they get larger, it may extend up to about 10,000 feet. Large wildfires, you get 100 acres, 1,000 acres, you're going to start seeing it push even higher. A larger area of heat pushing that smoke up high into the atmosphere. Like I said, sometimes over 40,000 feet. When you get extreme fires, you can get them up as high as 60,000 feet, and that's with these pyrocumulus clouds. It almost looks like a cloud on the top. The smoke goes up and it turns into a white cloud at the top. And then as you progress even more, you get pyrocumulonimbus clouds. Say that 3 times fast. Those are actually where the smoke column can turn into a thunderstorm, creating rain, lightning, even hail. Those can push up above 60,000 feet. I was on a fire in Northern California, and out in the distance, I saw this big, looks like a thunderstorm out in the distance. I'm like, wow, look at that storm. I didn't realize we were going to have thunderstorms. And someone said, no, that's a fire, and it's 150 miles away from us. It was pushing that high up to where you could see it. And then some of the things that controls the smoke height. The heat release, the hotter the fire, the stronger the lift. Atmospheric stability. I just learned that we have it's called an inversion layer. It's like the stable time. Happens mostly in the winter, not in the spring like I thought. I figured the marine layer is kind of like an inversion. It really is, but basically with that, if you have atmospheric stability, it prevents the smoke from lifting. And with that, it's kind of like a lid on a pot of boiling water. If you have water boiling, you have a lid on it, that steam's not coming out. But once you take the lid off, all the steam comes out. Terrain. We talked a little bit about terrain earlier. Canyons can funnel and intensify the plume rise because those canyons are funneling all that fire and heat. It's going to push that smoke up high into the atmosphere. Wind speed and direction. The wind will actually knock the column down. So sometimes you can have a big fire, and with the wind blowing, it'll lay the column down. So it may not look like it's big of a fire because the smoke's not going as high, but it's because the wind's holding it down. And like was said earlier, where the smoke goes, the fire usually follows. So if you walk outside, you look up and the smoke's going over your head, the fire's coming your way. This is an example of a pyrocumulonimbus cloud. So it's pretty amazing to see in person. As firefighters, it's very amazing. But you can see at the bottom, the air comes rushing in, fueling that fire, pushing the smoke up. And as that smoke lifts, it's just drawing more air in underneath, fueling that fire, pushing it up to the heights. And it gets up to where it forms into a cloud. And if it continues to push up into a thunderstorm, you get downbursts. So you'll have air moving down from the cloud that pushes out, that spreads the fire all different directions. And you can even get lightning. Seen it 2 times. Both times night. It was pretty amazing. Understanding fire. So fire is created by a combination of fuel, heat, and oxygen. And as firefighters, we usually try to take one of those out to put the fire out. So if you go on a fire, we're going to take and we're going to cut a fire line around the fire. That's taking away the fuel. We'll put water on the fire or drop retardant to take the heat out of the fire. Still haven't quite figured out the oxygen part, how to take that away, but maybe if we get a bunch of chiefs standing around talking, it'll suck all the oxygen out, so that might happen. The smoke rising up, like I said before, the smoke rising up draws in the fresh air at the ground, which fuels that fire with oxygen. So as it rises, the smoke rises up, that air comes in, replaces it, and fuels that fire. And with strong winds coming in and fuels to burn, the fire will spread very quickly. This is a video that I took. There's actually 3 videos here. And in these videos, what you have here is you have the smoke column coming up. And what I want you guys to look at is look how that smoke column, it spins, kind of like water in a drain, going down a drain. And you'll see that the smoke to the outside starts pulling in to that big fire column. The first one, it's not so much. The second one, it's even more. And the third one is the after effect, because eventually that fire came over the hill, down the hill, and we had pretty extreme fire behavior. This was up in Hemet, the Fairview fire in Hemet in 2023 that burned for about a week and a half, and then a tropical storm came in and put it out. So that was nice. So I can start the video. There's the smoke column, and down in here, the smoke is pulling it in. And here's the other road that pulls it in, and it's also pulling the fire in with it as well. It was a totally calm day. It was kind of tropical out, and everything was lifting straight up. That was a little less level country there. Oh, yeah, well, I'm a kind of hands guy, you know. So, the next video here, it's a little different view. Fire intensity is building because that, as I said, that smoke's been coming up, that column's rotating, it's pulling all that other fire in. And one of the things you'll notice here, I'm going to use the laser, that this fire over here starts pulling across into this main fire. This actually has turned into a fire tornado called a fire whirl at that point, and it's spinning tons of heat, tons of fire, and it actually affects the fire around it by drawing it in. Intense fire behavior. You have a lot of fire, and that's what the black smoke is. When you get that light, white, wispy smoke, it's usually either light fuels or very, not a lot of heat in the fire. So the dark smoke, see the dark smoke, it's a very intense fire. So as you can see now, it's even out on the outside, it was pulling in. But you can see how this area is spinning. There's the tornado right there, the fire, and it's drawing all the rest of that fire into it. So very extreme fire behavior up there. It started out as it was just a little spot fire that we had that started up, and it get bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually this next video is when it crested the hill, came down. We actually moved over to another spot, but you'll see in the next video, there's going to be a lot of fire, but you'll see the smoke actually spinning around and coming back into the fire. And what happens is it kicks out those embers ahead of it, light spot fires, and then it pulls the air and the fire back into it. It's actually pretty interesting. Oops. Bunch of Cal Fire rigs doing some good work. You see up at the top there, the smoke is actually going back into the fire. And what we were doing is we were trying to set more fire around it. We were trying to take the fuel away from the fire. We ended up losing the fire and ended up burning down the road. We went down this close and had to clear the homes, but it was really, to me, like a 30-year firefighter, very interesting fire behavior to see this a lot. Maybe because I don't go to Riverside. Oh yeah. Yeah, we had a total clear area. And as you'll notice too in a lot of these videos, like when we go out on fires, we're wearing a Nomex coat, which is basically like a cotton coat. We have a short sleeve shirt underneath, and then we just have regular pants. They're Nomex pants, but we're able to stand out there on the fire line with the fire burning, and we're okay. We're not getting burned. But this nice clear area that was here was open, and it was all grass out in the middle here, and then it was big brush up on the hill behind it. But we were all able to sit there just fine. There was, I didn't really even feel a lot of heat coming off the fire until it really kind of blew up a little bit. But even with that, it wasn't uncomfortable. It wasn't uncomfortable to be there. There was a lot of nice fresh air coming in front of it, so we were able to breathe and not really a lot of problems. Mm-hmm. That's a good question. It's all dependent on the situation. I mean, it's if you're going to be walking through fire, you're not going to do so well. But if there's fire on the hills, fire around you, it's not actually blowing onto you onto the road, you're going to probably be okay. I would still have some urgency getting out. What's that? No, definitely not on a trail. Stay on the roads, and find your nearest temporary refuge area and go to that temporary refuge area. And if it gets too bad for you, if you're out of your car running, you're cut off by fire, you think things are bad, get to a spot, call 911. Say, hey, I am at the Albertsons in San Elijo Hills. Everything's on fire. I need help. They may send a sheriff. They may send a fire engine. At least they know you're there. So, were you going to show something? So the fire environment, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And what the fire environment is, it's anywhere in and around the fire where the fire is influencing the weather. So something as simple as the smoke coming over your head blocking the sun is going to not allow the sun to preheat the fire. So it's kind of creating its own weather in its own environment. Some of the things with creating its own weather is you get the updrafts and downdrafts from the fire. You get very erratic winds when you get close to an actual fire front. A lot of gusty winds. You get the fire whirls, which I showed you, and then you get the big pyrocumulus clouds. Ash fall and ember casting. Ash from large fires, it can travel extremely long distances. The fires in British Columbia and Alberta a few years ago, they actually had ash falling in Chicago. So they can travel pretty far. It was very small. Ash was kind of like dust, but they still had the smoke and ash. The closer you are to the fire, or the larger the fire is, you'll get larger pieces of ash. So if you have little small pieces of ash falling, you see a fire way out in the distance, you're okay. But you are technically in the fire environment. You are somewhere where the fire is starting to affect the weather around you. Embers can travel over a mile and start fires ahead of the main fire. They're called spot fires, and they are very dangerous. Because if you're in between a spot fire and the main fire, you're not only deep in the fire environment, but you're now in the fire. You need to get out immediately or take refuge in a fire-hardened structure or a TRA. Because those spot fires will light out ahead of the fire, and then they'll pull back in. So if you're in between a spot fire and the main fire, it can pull that fire. You now have fire coming two directions from you, towards you. So you have one that's coming this way, and the spot fire from behind you is coming the other way back in. So evacuations and making decisions under stress. This is kind of a long video. It's about a 4-minute video. I know we've shown videos of people evacuating in their own vehicles. This is actually firefighters evacuating out of the fire. And it gets a little intense at times, but you'll notice they start out kind of like, oh, yeah, this is all good. They get a little more intense, a little more intense. They end up making a couple questionable decisions, but they made decisions, end up driving off the road to get around the fire, end up running into fire while they're driving off road, backing, getting back to the road, and then getting out. So it's kind of an intense video.
Yeah, that's not good.
So here they're
this
about
was all fine when we were
a couple hundred
driving
yards
down here
away from the fire.
2 hours
It is at night
ago.
too, so the fire looks
I
a lot
guess
larger at night.
when it got away from us back there, went a little bit deeper interior and just.
And they bleeped out all the profanity too, so. But you see it's like there's a lot of trees, there's a lot of brush, a lot of grass. This is up in Northern California in Klamath National Forest, which is up by the Oregon border, kind of northeast of Shasta, and a lot of trees. But as they're driving here, for me personally, I've been driving a fire engine now for 20 years. If I'm seeing this, I'm starting to look for a temporary refuge area. Looking out ahead, the fire's already bumping up against the road. Start looking for a spot where you can stop where there's no trees. They had an area in the beginning of the video where they actually drove by. Like here, there's a little bit more of a clearing area. Might be a good place to stop. They're fire engines, so they have water, they have hose.
Yeah, we need to go. This guy's driving slow.
But they continue to drive, trying to get out. And they start going around cars that are stopped. Now the fire's coming right at them.
244 back up.
Drive.
And this is the main head of the fire, the front of the fire coming at them.
Section 334, 1671. Where are you? Are you in section 14 yet?
Go.
They're getting into bigger trees.
Go, dude.
Kind of not improving their situation very well. And now they go around the guy, and there's a traffic jam in the front of them. A bunch of fire engines stopped. Water truck stopped. They got to make a decision. What are you going to do? You can sit.
Copy that. Yeah, we're just going to turn around.
Turning around is not an option.
Yeah. Where you guys are?
Look at the intensity of that fire. It's definitely somewhere you don't want to be there. And there goes the safety officer through the smoke, fire, and now they're going for it. Can't see a thing. At that point, they can't see a thing. And they're now off-road. They've gone off the road because they couldn't see. So they're basically four-wheel driving through the brush about 50 feet off the road.
Come on. Go.
And then they come back onto the road. At this point here, they actually do it on purpose. They decide they're going to go around. But the problem with this is if you get stuck, you're cooked. You're surrounded by bushes. You're cooked. Now they're cut off by fire. And I want you to notice when they come back on the road, look at what the fire behavior is like once they get back on the road here.
Get on the road.
Because the fire has now gone all the way across the road. So they kind of did like that video we had of the fire in Utah, where the lady waited and then she pushed through the fire and then the fire was less.
Get out of here.
They get back on the road. There's still a lot of fire, but the flame lengths are not as intense. It's kind of settled down.
God.
Kind of a good time to maybe stop, find a place to stop. But they continue to drive, and as you continue to drive, you're going to get to the other side of the fire and have to drive through all of that again.
Go.
So you either have the decision of staying back there where it's not as hot or continuing through. And they get through.
Holy dude.
And they're out.
Oh my God.
How many of you guys think you could do that?
Oh my God,
I'm
dude.
sure we got some good driving skills in here. So
That tinder and stuff burns over.
those are firefighters.
Holy
in a truck. It's like a Ford F550 truck with a water pump and a water tank on it. It gives me anxiety watching that. So I just wanted to show you guys that because you guys could be faced with fire behavior like that. Maybe not so much here, but maybe you decide to go out through Elfin Forest and you run into the fire. You could end up having fire behavior like this out there cutting you off. And you have to make decisions. Are you going to stop? Are you going to drive through it? But just remember, if you can't see, you have that option or that potential of driving right off the road. You had a question? Yeah, diesel engines aren't as bad as gas engines. Diesel engines work more off of like a compressing the fuel and heat. But gasoline engines, yeah, if you're driving through a fire, that's another thing is, number one, you can suck embers into your air filter in your car that could light your car on fire. You could end up having your motor stop because that fire is burning up all the oxygen around it. So it can make your car not run very well. You probably get a check engine light or something come on, but I think you'd be okay. Tires don't melt. I mean, they will eventually, but driving over, as long as you keep moving, it's like driving on hot asphalt. No. No, definitely. Yes. Yeah, I don't know what the deal was with that. Maybe it wasn't, they didn't have gas in it or whatever, which is another good thing. The gentleman in the back there, he had brought up earlier, I was talking with him about how many of you right now have like your low fuel light is on in your car? Anybody? Maybe you're at like a quarter tank. Especially when we get into like Santa Ana season, fill your car up with gas. That way you don't got to deal with it. You could get stuck in traffic for hours. Like 2014, it was 3 hours for some people in their cars. And if you run out of gas, you're going to block the road. You could run into problems. So at least have like half a tank of gas maybe that time, but try to keep your cars full of gas. So I have a scenario for you guys. This is kind of getting into the stress side of things. You're on your way home from work. You're coming up off Rancho Santa Fe Road. You're coming up San Leo Hills Road here. Out in the distance, you see some smoke in the distance. Probably all of us are going to get a little anxious when we start to see stuff like that. You're going to be like, hey, I don't like this. Where's the fire? Am I going to get evacuated? Is it by my house? So you get a little bit anxious, but you're doing okay. So you come up San Leo Road, you get to Elfin Forest Road, and you start to see fire engines going by, police cars all heading out Elfin Forest Road. You're like, okay, this is a big fire. There's a lot of people going. Start to get a little more anxious. As you get home, you get a notice for an evacuation advisory level 1. The evacuation stuff has kind of changed, but you just get the first little thing. You start to worry. You're like, great, do I evacuate? What am I going to do? You start to question when you should leave. Stress builds up a little bit more. You decide to stay, even though you're starting to see a little bit of ash falling outside. You're going out to put some stuff in your car. You see little tiny bits of ash start to fall. You're smelling the smoke. A few minutes later, you start looking for your paperwork because you don't know where all your stuff is. You pack a bag of clothes, take it out to your car, and you notice it's starting to get darker and hazier outside. A few more minutes pass, then you get another notifications. Now it's an evacuation warning. You realize it's time to leave. You see all of your neighbors start packing up. They're leaving. Where are you going to go? What are you going to bring with you? You hear sirens out in the distance doing that high-low tone, which I'm not going to do. I can't go that high. But it's not in your neighborhood. It's way out in the distance. So you're like, okay, it's out in Quest Haven Hills. I'm okay for right now. It's not in my neighborhood. Your phone buzzes again. Now it's an evacuation order. You're so full of adrenaline, and trust me, I've heard stories about people doing this. I've seen at times, maybe myself, maybe my wife, stressing out where we encounter this, but you're walking around, you're trying to find your keys, but they're in your pocket, or they're in your hand. Anybody ever been so stressed out they've had stuff like that? Where's my phone? Well, it's in your hand. They're in your pocket. You get in your car, you head out the same way you always do. You go down the end of the street, you make a left, you head out, kind of the way that you're used to going. You get to the bottom of the street, there's embers in the air, it's dark outside, and that's one of the things too that you guys, it might be the middle of the day, but sometimes the fire is going to get so intense that it's going to be as dark as night outside. You're going to need your headlights on, you're going to need, take your sunglasses off, it's going to get dark. You get embers going by, you get to the bottom of the street, there's a bush on fire and a pine tree, and traffic is stopped. You have nowhere to go. You start thinking, what could I have done to prevent this? What's the number one thing you could have done to prevent all of this? Download Pulse Point is one of them. Leaving early. I heard someone say it, leaving early. Here's why evacuations go wrong. Waiting, number one, is waiting too long to leave. Thinking, oh, it won't reach us. Fire department's going to handle it. It's not coming my way. It's far away. It won't reach me. Traffic congestion. Get in traffic, wait a little while, get in traffic. Evacuations go wrong. Routes becoming blocked. The other thing is no pre-planning for this fire. If you don't plan for this fire ahead of time, you're going to be running around scrambling, trying to do things, and it's going to cost time and all this stuff as compared to being completely prepared where you just go and you go, I'm going to go get my fire safe, I'm going to go get my go bag, I'm going to get dressed in the clothes I need to be in, and I'm out. 10 minutes, you're out, rather than 30 minutes of running around going, oh, where's my title for my car? Where's I probably need my prescription. Oh, yeah, I need running around instead of having everything set. So waiting too long and also bringing too much. You're under an evacuation warning, and you're like, I need to get my surfboard. I need to get my mountain bike. I have some leftover pizza in the fridge I'm going to grab. It's all important stuff. But you're going to find yourself driving through that fire, getting barreled by fire. So how does stress affect us? The big thing is tunnel vision. Starting to get that stress building up, you start to just focus on one thing. Everything starts closing in and closing in and closing in. You start to have denial, hesitation, rushing around without thinking. I'm looking for my phone, but it's in my hand. And then freezing under pressure. Sometimes people just will stop. They said, I'm not going to make a decision. I'm just not going to do anything. Fight or flight, it's our body's natural reaction to stress. It goes back through our DNA for thousands of years. You're getting chased by a lion, you're either going to fight or flight, which is run away. That's when adrenaline takes over and bad decisions happen. How do I prevent this? Plan ahead. Know what you're going to pack. Have your stuff. You say, I have this stuff that I'm going to bring with me. A go bag is great. Go bags, you can also get extra prescription medications, put them in there. You can put money in it. You can put all kinds of stuff, cell phone chargers, everything you need. Have it ready in your go bag. Know where you're going during an evacuation. You know, say, hey, if there's an evacuation, I'm going to Auntie's house, going to hang out there, figure things out, until I can go. During the Cocos fire, I knew people that went down, they just booked a hotel in Palm Springs and said, we're out, we're going. I wish I would have thought of that. And know how you are going to get there. Know your routes in and out. I know we don't have a lot of routes here in San Leandro Hills to think about, but know how you're going to get to where you're going. And plan it all. And then be ready when it's time to leave. In that scenario, when you come home, you have the evacuation warning going on. Instead of just pulling in your driveway, turn around back into your driveway. Have your car packed and ready to go. And also be dressed for the evacuation. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more here. And then always leave early. So how to prepare? You're going to use the PACE acronym. You're going to use stop when you feel stressed. Know where your fire is and where it's going, and evacuate early. So PACE. PACE stands for Primary, Alternate, Contingency, and Emergency. So for your evacuation routes, have your primary route. It's the first way out, the main road. You're going to get on San Leandro Hills Road, and you're going to go down to Rancho Santa Fe Road. That's your primary route. Alternate route is a backup road. For here, it would be maybe Elfin Forest Road. If the fire's on the other side of Double Peak down by the college, you may be able to go out Elfin Forest Road. It may be something as simple, too, as you get down San Leandro Hills Road, instead of going all the way to Rancho Santa Fe, turn on Melrose and go down Melrose to get out. Contingency, start talking about some of these larger TRA areas that we talked about. And the emergency, last resort, take refuge wherever you can. But know your pace. Have these figured out where you're going to go before you go. So the STOP method, you use it when you get overwhelmed. And what it stands for, the S is stop the madness. Stop, take a couple deep breaths. It may seem like it's forever, but it may just be 20 seconds of taking a couple deep breaths to focus. Get yourself back centered. Think about what you're doing. Focus on what you're doing. Observe. Try to get a read on where the fire is and how much time you have. Actually, you can go outside, take a peek, see if the fire is close, see if you have smoke coming over your head. Do you smell fire? Do you see embers? Do you see ash? Take a look and then come up with a plan. So once you get yourself back centered, you come up with a plan of what you're going to do and then stick to that plan. And down at the bottom, I put stay calm, think clearly, and act decisively. That's one of the things we do as firefighters. It's a part of our 10 standard wildland firefighting orders. So reading the fire. This is the things you do when you read a fire is you want to know where it is, how big is it, and which way is it headed. So where is it? You look to see if you, so you can go outside and you look and you go, oh yeah, it's way over the hill, or I can see all the way out at Mount Laguna, and it's all the way out there. I'm okay. You can use the app like Genesis Protect, Watch Duty, Pulse Point to see the location. You'll see where the evacuations are, and it'll tell you where the fire is. You can also, I'm sorry, I put that there was an SDG in camera, but it's actually UCSD, so UCSD, I'm sorry. you can go on the camera and take a look on the cameras and see if you can figure out where the fire is. What size is the fire? Can you see it? Is it small, large, or is it a massive conflagration of fire? You can read the smoke column as well to see what size the fire is. Like we talked about earlier, how high is that fire going up into the atmosphere, the smoke pushing up into the atmosphere? Does it have a pyrocumulus cloud at the top of it, a big ice cap on the top of it that would show it's a large fire? Is it dark smoke? Is it light smoke? Take a look at some of that stuff. And then which way is it headed? The fire will move the same way as the smoke. So like I said, if you go outside and the smoke's coming over your head, the fire's coming to you. And it will also follow topography, canyons, hills. The fire will run up hills faster than it goes down hills, opposite of me. So here's how to evaluate your situation. You got smoke in the distance. You see just smoke in the distance. You don't have anything else. You can monitor the fire. Is the smoke coming towards you or away from you? If it's going away from you, just be ready at that point. If you have smoke coming in your direction and you smell smoke, it's starting to get a little more dangerous. You're entering that fire environment. You need to evacuate at that point. If you can actually have smoke coming in your direction and you can smell the smoke and you're starting to get ash and stuff, you need to get out. And then thick, fast-moving smoke with ash or embers, high danger, you waited too long, get out as fast as you can. So this is an example of smoke in the distance. Is that smoke moving towards me where I took the picture or away? By looking at it. You see the blue sky in between the top of the smoke? You wouldn't have the blue sky if it's coming towards you. The smoke would be blocking that out. That fire is moving away from you. This was the mosquito fire up in Lake Tahoe a few years back, I think 2023 as well. Here we go. We have smoke in the distance that's headed your way and some haze and the smell of smoke. This is definitely when you want to get out. You start seeing this stuff, don't wait. Maybe grab one thing and get out. Grab your dog, the pizza, the surfboard, and get out. Smoke, ash, and embers. Now you're definitely in a lot more danger. So at this point, you've waited too long. You have fire in your backyard. You've waited too long. So dressing for evacuation. The fire doesn't care about fashion. It doesn't care if you have Lululemon pants on. It doesn't care if you have nice stuff on. You want to dress in clothes that are made of 100% natural fibers, whether it's wool, cotton, or leather. Not pleather, not polyester, cotton blend, not that stuff. Cotton, wool, leather. Go ahead. Silk. Does silk work? I've never. All right, silk as well. I guess it's a natural fiber. Denim jeans, cotton long sleeve shirt, flannel, and a wool or cotton socks. Have gloves to protect your hands. You could add into your cars to have some gloves in your car as well. Wear shoes or boots. No flip-flops, no Crocs. I'm going to wear my Crocs. As long as they're wool socks. Have a baseball cap or a wide brim hat to wear as well to protect your head. You're going to have embers raining down, and you want to be able to protect your head and your neck. Bring a bandana to wear over your face if things get bad. Also, those N95 masks as well work really well. Have these items ready, available, and planned out. Have your wardrobe planned out. It's like, this is my going out to dinner wardrobe, and this is my evacuating fire wardrobe. Have it ready. Have it picked out. Please. No. Only if you're going to like a brew pub or something like that. Someplace where you can throw axes, you know. Don't wear anything synthetic, yoga pants, board shorts, flip-flops, not good for fires. Definitely not, especially if you have to get out and run. Here's a prime example of how you should dress if you are evacuating a fire. That's actually Lindsay. She dressed up like that for me, so she showed me. But you can see it's all good stuff. And the other thing that I noticed here is having the shirt tucked in. You might think like, well, why is that? It prevents embers and stuff from going down your pants. Trust me, as a firefighter, I've had it happen. It's not fun. Some items to have in your car. Good to have a heavy wool blanket. Have any of you ever heard about having a heavy wool blanket in your car? Number one, if you get trapped in the snow, you're going to be nice and warm. If you get trapped in a fire and you need to get out of your car and there's a lot of fire, you can wrap that wool blanket around you and you can make a run for it. With the clothes you have underneath of you and that wool blanket, you're going to be very well protected. The other thing is if you need to shelter in your car as a TRA for a little bit, is you can lay down in the seat in your car and you can pull that wool blanket over the top of you and it'll protect you from the radiant heat. Eventually your car is going to catch on fire and you're going to need to get out, but bring your wool blanket with you. Extra water to drink, fire extinguishers are always good, and the bolt cutters. He's got the bolt cutters back there, so we're following him. So now here's a discussion I want you guys to have with your families or friends, neighbors, whatever it might be. Just ask them what they would do. You get smoke visible nearby, run through that scenario with them. Ash is falling, traffic's building, wind shifting towards your neighborhood. What is your family going to do if you're gone? What are they going to do? You're at work, they're at home. Make sure they know what they're going to do. Make sure they are on the same page. You guys are all on the same page. Discuss all the stuff you've learned here. Have a plan with your family. Where are you going to meet up at? We're going to meet up at Andy's house, and we're going to figure it out from there. And then we're going to go to Palm Springs and sit by the pool. What are you going to bring? Not only what are you going to bring, but what does your family need if you are home and they are not home? You know, leave early. You can always come back. Like even if you haven't had an evacuation warning, you can leave. And if the fire gets put out, you can just come right back home. Go to Handles, have some ice cream, come back when it's all done. Everything's good. So some key takeaways, like I said, be ready, have a plan, have a go bag and items in your car. Have your clothes picked out. Control your emotions. Try not to run around like a chicken with your head cut off when you're trying to evacuate. And stay focused on your plan. Like have your plan preset, and when that time comes, follow your plan. Like I said, for me personally, I have a fire safe at home. I keep all my paperwork in a fire safe. It's just a little small handheld fire safe, but I'm able to pick that thing up and put it in my car when I need to go, and it has everything from my passports, marriage certificates, birth certificates, death certificates, everything's in it. So leave early, watch the smoke, watch for ash, watch for embers, always have 2 ways out, and remember, early action will save lives. And that is it. Any questions?
As much as I would love to take questions, we have to be out of this room in 15 minutes. So if you are sitting in a chair and you want to help break it down, please do feel free. But I also wanted to thank our agency partners for being here this evening. I want to thank all of you for being here this evening. And I really want to encourage you to apply that peer pressure to your neighbors and the community at large about what you learned, how to prepare, how to harden your home. We still have our home hardening contractors here if you want to grab anything from them. Again, we really appreciate it. And like I mentioned earlier, we are funded on donations. Having these workshops available to you, being able to rent this space, and having these resources in our community does cost money. So we would really, really appreciate it if you can just take some time tonight to send some funds our way, and also encourage your neighbors and community to do that as well. Thank you so much and have a good night.